Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Hare Krishna. Welcome once again, dear devotees, to this session of Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. And till now, we have covered many verses of Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. Actually speaking, I did not realize, how we started from verse number 1 and we have come all the way up to verse number 7. But many of you have been constantly attending these sessions live and many have been hearing offline. And I am very, very grateful for all of your support. Thank you, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, for kindly hosting these sessions, for kindly giving the idea of conducting an online talk on Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. Today is session number 39. And actually we had an introductory session, which due to technical difficulties could not get recorded. So someday myself and Dāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, we will arrange for another extra session where we will do the introduction part again. So it will be, our series will be complete. Actually, technically speaking, today is session number 40. But from the point of view of recorded videos, today is session number 39. So welcome once again to session number 39 of Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamritam. And we are studying in great detail. I am very happy that I am of some service to all of you in this study of Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. Before we move ahead, dear devotees, I would like to offer a verse to Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Ratnakaradena sudhalpa kumbha abhishkritah sostu mahan rameshah yastvatra piyusha rasabdhikarta sa Srila Ruposti mameshta devah. The Supreme Lord, Ramesha, the husband of Lakshmi, that is Dhanvantari, who extracted a small jar of nectar from the large ocean, may certainly be great. However, that personality who ended up creating an entire ocean of nectar, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that personality named Srila Rupa Goswami is certainly my most worshipable deity. So dear devotees, I am very thankful to all of you, especially those who are now memorizing Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam and posting their memorizations in the group. And thank you so much for enthusiastically responding to the request of memorizing Upadeshamritam. For many of us, Upadeshamritam has now become Kanthahar. Kantha means neck, har means the necklace. So like a necklace around our neck, many of us have Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam now. And actually speaking, the original verses of Upadeshamritam are Upadeshamritam, the Mool Upadeshamritam that Sri Rupa Goswami spoke. Everything else is an explanation, but the original is in those 11 verses. So anybody who has those 11 verses around their neck, which means they have it memorized, they can easily remember the various meanings of each and every term. Just simply keep singing one verse at a time and keep chewing upon the meaning of each individual term. And then we will realize that all these sweet meanings of Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam are coming back to us. And this text will never leave us and will become a permanent part of our lives. In this way, memorization of the original text will immensely help all of us. Dear devotees, now onwards, we are entering into a deeper section of Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam, because now, today onwards, the discussion on Krishna's Naam, Krishna's lila, Krishna's Rupa, etc. will begin. Although the main discussion will start from the 8th verse onwards. But from today onwards, since we have already concluded Naam Aparadhas and Naam Abhas in the previous session, on today onwards, the serious discussion into Naam Tattva will begin. But before that, I also need protection from, from the Supreme Lord. I need to seek protection from Him. And all of us, those who are attending also, we need to seek protection, so that both the person who is teaching and those who are listening may not be misled. Therefore, I am invoking Shanti part of Kathopanishad. This is a Vedic Shanti part, which is used for invoking auspiciousness for the teacher as well as the student. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Om is the bij, the seed of all the Vedas. So there is no translation for it. Saha Nav Avatu. Saha, together, both of us. Nav Avatu. May Bhagavan protect both of us, the person who is teaching as well as the person who is learning. Sahanau Bhunaktu. May Bhagavan bestow the highest fruit of this study upon both of us. Sahaviryam Karvavahi. May both of us attain the strength to realize the highest truth. Not only the person who is teaching, but also the individual who is learning. Tejasvi Navadhitamastu. May our study be brilliant. May it shine forth brilliantly. Ma Vidvishavahai. Most importantly, may we never envy each other. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Shantihi on earth, Shantihi in the antariksha, in the space between earth and Swarga, and Shanti in the Swarga and upper planetary systems. May there be Shanti, all round peace in the three worlds, dear devotees. Continuing our instruction, which was the 7th instruction of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Syat Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pittopatapta Rasanasya Narochikanu Kintvadarādanu Dinam Khalu Saiva Jushta Swadvi Kramad Bhavati Tadgadamula Hantri. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, can you please read the translation?
How amazing! Even though Krishna's names, pastimes, etc. are certainly sweet like sugar candy, they do not appear tasteful to a tongue bittered by the jaundice of beginningless ignorance. However, if that same sugar candy is accepted every day and with due respect, then it certainly becomes progressively tasteful and fully destroys that jaundice at its root.
Wonderful. So we have understood the verse word by word, and we have not skipped any term in our understanding. We were focusing on adarat, with due respect. And previously, we saw what is the opposite of adar, that is anadar. how not to disrespect Krishna's Naam. And in that we went into a detailed discussion of Dasha Nama Aparadha, the 10 aparadhas or offenses towards Krishna's Naam. And we also saw how Namabhas is also considered as one sort of another. And what is the concept of Namabhas? And what are the subtypes of Namabhas? So we saw all of that in the previous session. Now, dear devotees, we have to understand aadar, how to give respect to Bhagavan Naam, to the names of Bhagavan. So we have to ensure two conditions that Srila Rupa Goswami has given us. First is adarat, our utterance of Krishna's names should be with due respect, and anudinam, our utterance of Krishna's name should happen daily. If both conditions are maintained, then kramat, progressively, gradually, swadvi bhavati. Then this name of Bhagavan Sri Krishna will gradually become sweet. Just like a sugar candy gradually becomes sweet for a jaundiced person who is taking the proper treatment. So, dear devotees, what is the sugar candy here? What is sita, sugar candy? Oh, Krishna Nama Charita Adi. Krishna's names, pastimes, etc. are sita, are the sugar candy. Now, let's see what all things are mentioned here. Dear devotees, Krishna's Nama is mentioned. Krishna's Rupa, Guna, Charita, Lila. So because the verse is Syat Krishna Nama Charita Adi. Adi means etc. So etc. includes Rupa, Guna, Lila, all these things. All these things are as sweet as sita, sugar candy. But we have to now actually start experiencing how these are sweet like sugar candy. Currently, they may appear very bitter to some of us, very bitter. Dear devotees, I am not assuming anything from those who are attending. Some may be initiated devotees, but due to lack of taste might have reduced their number of rounds. Some may have altogether stopped their japa, even though they are initiated. I am not saying that all those who have done so are disqualified. All those who have done so mainly because they feel that Bhagavan's Naam no longer appeals to them. It no longer gives them a taste of sweetness. Somewhere the sweetness was lost. And it is time to rediscover it and to follow a proper path to regaining our taste in Bhagavan's Naam. As I said in a previous talk, I had quoted Gandhi's talisman. When we speak, we should speak to the person who has the lowest strength in the audience. So it may be possible that someone who may be listening may have a very low strength in chanting Krishna's Naam or in singing of Krishna's Rupa, Guna, Lila. But without assuming anything about anyone, Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamritam is giving a common advice to all sadhakas. Dear devotees, there are a few things which we can do with Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, Charitra. What can we do? The first thing that we can do is japa. Second thing we can do is kirtan. And third thing we can do is smaran. Now, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, I will ask you a few questions regarding all of the four, Nama, Rupa, Guna and Charita Lila. Please answer in yes or no. The Naam of Krishna, can it be employed in japa? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. Can it be employed in kirtan?
Yes.
And can it be employed in smaran?
Yes.
All right. So Naam can connect to japa, kirtan as well as smaran. Let's come to Rupa, the form. The descriptions of Krishna's form, are they mainly applied to japa?
No.
Are they mainly applied to kirtan or glorification?
Yes.
Yes. In a Srimad Bhagavatam class, we may end up performing glorification of Krishna's form. And are they a subject of smaran?
Yes.
Right? Or object of smaran, sorry, not subject, an object of smaran. So the Rupa of Krishna is an object of kirtan as well as an object of smaran. Now let's come to guna or qualities. Does guna align with kirtan
Yes.
and smaran?
Yes.
Right? And charitra and lila, does it align with kirtan
Yes.
and smaran?
Yes.
All right. So dear devotees, we have seen in this way what are the connections of these four attributes, eternal attributes of Bhagavan with japa, kirtan and smaran. Now, in this particular verse, Rupa Goswami is speaking about Syat Krishna Nama Charita Adi. He is speaking about all these things. But Rupa Goswami wants to focus especially on two limbs, kirtan and smaran, but this focus will happen in the next verse. Because in the next verse, he will focus on these two. The next verse is Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smritya. So kirtan and smriti, smaran, will be taken up in the next verse. So this verse, I will be dedicating to japa, because kirtan and smaran will come up anyways in the next verse. So this verse, because this verse is especially speaking about adarat anudinam, a daily practice, and most of the sadhakas have a daily practice of japa. Therefore, I am going to dive into detail in this verse on japa, and japa is connected to Naam, dear devotees, Naam japa or mantra japa, as we say. So, dear devotees, let's try to understand what is aadar in relation to japa of Krishna's Naam. How to perform japa of Krishna Naam with aadar. This is our subject matter at hand today. First and foremost, let us define japa. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, how would you define japa?
Quietly muttering a prayer to oneself.
Quietly muttering a prayer to oneself. All right. This is a good definition of japa. Have you heard this definition anywhere, Prabhu?
No.
All right. So somehow by good fortune, you have come very close to the definition given by Srila Rupa Goswami. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami has defined 64 limbs of bhakti. Japa is a separate limb, kirtan is a separate limb. What is japa? Sri Rupa Goswami defines japa as follows in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Mantrasya sulaghu charo japa ityabhidhiyate. Sulaghu uchara. Uchara is utterance. Laghu uchara is soft utterance. Sulaghu uchara, super soft utterance of mantra, mantrasya. Iti abhidhiyate is known as what? Japa. So this is the translation. Super soft utterance of a mantra is known as japa. But many of us might have heard, oh, we should chant loudly so that the trees can also benefit. so that the birds and animals can also benefit. So we will reconcile that. But let's keep this definition of Srila Rupa Goswami in our mind. That japa is soft utterance of a particular mantra or a particular naam. This is what japa is, dear devotees. Now, according to the Hari Bhakti Vilas, in the 17th chapter, Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami and Sri Sanatan Goswami say that japa is actually of 3 types. What are the 3 types? So they define 3 types of japa. The first one is called as vachik japa, that which can be translated as audible loud japa. I will give an example of vachik or audible japa. In this japa, one's lips are moving clearly, one's tongue is moving clearly, and the pronunciation is loud enough, audible enough, so that a second person can hear us. I will now try to chant in this variety of japa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All of you were able to hear. When a second person is able to hear our japa, this becomes known as vachika japa. In this japa, our lips, our tongue should move clearly. So this is the first type of japa. The second type of japa is upamshu japa. In upamshu japa, the lips move slightly, the tongue also moves slightly. One chants only so that one can hear oneself. A second person should not be able to hear us. This is known as upamshu japa. Now I will try to chant upamshu, but because the mic is present, you may be able to hear some of the syllables. But I will be able to hear myself clearly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, were you able to hear all of the syllables that I uttered?
Not all of them.
Not all of them. But I was able to hear myself. Lips moved slightly, tongue moved slightly. I am able to hear myself. Dear devotees, this is known as upamshu japa. A second person should not hear this japa. This is upamshu japa. The third type of japa specified in the Hari Bhakti Vilas is known as manasika japa or manas japa. In this japa, the lips don't open at all. The tongue inside doesn't move at all, or maybe moves little bit. One chants in the mind and visualizes the syllable of the mantra in front of his eyes by closing the eyes. Now, even if I try to perform this, you will not be able to hear. So this is known as manasika japa, dear devotees. These are 3 types of japa mentioned. The type of japa which Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu defined. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, how did you define japa?
I'm sorry, there was a loud noise. You said, how did I define japa?
Yeah.
As the soft utterance or murmuring of a prayer.
To oneself, you said, right?
Yes.
So, amongst these 3, which one is soft mutterance to oneself?
Upamshu.
Upamshu. Wonderful. Now, some individuals may be chanting vachik japa, some may be chanting upamshu japa. Manasik, most devotees use manasik japa for second initiation mantras. So manasik is not used exactly for Hari Naam. It is used mainly for second initiation mantras. Shri Sanatan Goswami says something in the commentary. It's a very interesting commentary. He says, Vachika upamshu manasika bhedena trividhasya japasya madhye. 3 types of japa. He says, amongst these 3 types, there is one preferred type. Which is the one preferred type? He says, Ishad oshtha chalanena that one in which the lips move slowly, Shanair Ucharana, and the pronunciation is soft. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, which type of japa is that?
Upamshu.
Upamshu. He says Upamshu is the one that should be actually technically known as japa. Upamshu japo atra grahya. Why other two are not japa? He says no, because technically vachika is japa, but kirtanantargatatvat. It falls in the category of kirtan. And manasika is also japa, but it falls more in the category of smaran. Smaranatmakatvat. Manasik is of the nature of smaran. So basically, vachika is japa. Vachika japa, audible japa, where a second person can hear us, is japa. But it is overlapping with another limb of bhakti, that is kirtan. Manasika is also japa, but it is overlapping with another limb of bhakti, that is smaran. So actually speaking, that japa which is not mixed with vachika, which is not mixed with kirtan or smaran, there is only one, and that is upamshu japa. And that is technically known as japa, dear devotees. So although some of us may be chanting japa audibly, we should know that according to the previous acharyas, technically japa is soft utterance of Sri Krishna's Naam. And utterance so that only one can hear oneself. Because that is the purpose of japa. The purpose of japa is to benefit oneself. And as soon as one thinks, I will chant my rounds in order to benefit the trees, the animals, the insects, the birds, technically we are performing another limb of bhakti. Which limb of bhakti are we performing, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu?
Kirtan.
Kirtan. This is confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Japile Sri Krishna Naam, apane se tare, ucca sankirtane para, upakara kare. Japile Sri Krishna Naam. On performing japa of Krishna's Naam, apana se tare, one benefits and delivers oneself. But Uchcha Sankirtane, on performing audible kirtan, para upkar kare, one benefits others. And this very clear line of distinction between japa and kirtan has already been drawn by the previous acharyas, dear devotees. So, some of us may be performing vachika japa, audible japa. It is also bona fide japa. Hari Bhakti Vilas also categorizes it as japa. But it is also overlapping with kirtan. And some of us may be chanting our second initiation mantra. Almost all of us are chanting second initiation mantras in a mansik fashion. That is also japa. But it is overlapping with smaran. Dear devotees, technically, japa which is unmixed with kirtan and smaran is only of one type, that is upamshu. That is the most recommended type of japa, especially for chanting Harinam. Having said this, now we should understand something, because instead of beating around the bush, we should come to the main point. The main point is we should have aadar towards our japa. Our japa should be that of respect. So first and foremost, let us understand how we can have ideal japa and how we can develop factors or qualities which will add to our respect of japa, which will help us attain ideal japa. Dear devotees, ideal japa is defined by a Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya named Shri Dhyan Chandra Goswami in his Gaur Govinda Archana Smaran Paddhati. He gives a beautiful definition of japa. Mano madhye sthito mantro, mantra madhye sthitam manah, mano mantra samayuktam, etadhi japa lakshanam. In the Gaur Govinda Archana Smaran Paddhati, Shri Dhyan Chandra Goswami says, Mano madhye sthito mantro. The mantra should be firmly situated in the mind. Mantra madhye sthitam manah. And vice versa. The mind should be firmly situated in the mantra. Mano mantra samayuktam. This seamless connection of mind and mantra. Etadhi japa lakshanam. This is actually ideal japa. This is the characteristic of ideal japa. So our japa will be ideal when the mantra manages to permeate through all the distractions and manages to reach its final destination. And what is the final destination of the mantra? Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu?
Krishna.
No, according to this verse.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. The mind.
The mind. So mantra is non-different from Krishna. But we have to make sure Krishna reaches somewhere. So Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, where should Krishna in the form of Shabda Brahma or mantra reach? Where should he reach?
The mind.
The mind. Mama mana mandire. Let Krishna be situated in the temple of my mind. But there are 1,000 distractions in my life. And I am not able to perform this sort of ideal japa. This is actually adarat. This is giving a seat to Bhagavan's Naam within the temple of our mind. This is adar. This is giving respect to the mantra. But some of us are burdened by quantity. Every morning I wake up, oh my God, 16 rounds are remaining. And I cannot do anything else in those 2.5 hours. Oh my goodness. What to do now? Now let's start round number 1. And dear devotees, then we start struggling against Bhagavan's Naam. And then we start pulling the beads. Just like one pulls water from a well, one starts pulling the beads one by one, one by one. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And it is so distasteful sometimes. Many devotees, after a certain number of years, either reduce the number of rounds in their japa or secretly give it up altogether. Dear devotees, it happens. Those who are new may find it very shocking. Oh, we thought that as and when you get, senior, or as and when the number of years pass, your number of rounds should increase. But in many cases, it happens that devotees lose interest. And it is essential to develop that aadar and that interest. Dear devotees, when the Goswamis, they used to perform japa, there was one very important factor which they had with them. The important factor that they had with them is that they had one thing very clear in their mind, that japa is for self-benefit. This is one thing which was absolutely clear in their mind. 500 years ago, when Sri Rupa Goswami would sit in his bhajan kutir for performing japa, this japa was not to prove anything to anyone or not to make a show of a number in front of anybody, dear devotees. Can you visualize Sri Rupa Goswami 500 years ago sitting alone in his bhajan kutir and chanting his rounds? Is there any pressure on him to make a show of chanting a specific number of rounds? Absolutely not. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, does Sri Rupa Goswami have to give a sadhana report to anybody that today I chanted X number of rounds?
No, Prabhuji.
Obviously not. Whatever Sri Rupa Goswami is chanting on his japamala is purely out of his volition, purely out of his love for his Guru, purely out of love for Krishna Naam. Dear devotees, first and foremost, the first thing that we need to do is that we need to perform our japa for our taste, for our benefit. And once we have taste, And once we have benefited ourselves, we can go ahead and deliver the entire world. Sarvam api mam prithvim sashishyat. But before that, swatmapyupadishyam. First look in the mirror and give instructions to one's own self. Upadishyatam, instruct swatma, one's own self. Therefore, it is important that without having any peer pressure of who is watching us and who is not watching us, and without having any artificial feelings of making a show in front of others, we should first and foremost take our Nama Jap purely as a sadhan for one's own taste, one's own purification, and one's own advancement. Henceforth, if I perform japa, I will not perform japa as a method of showing somebody else that I have chanted my number of rounds, dear devotees. Like Sri Rupa Goswami did 500 years ago. So first and foremost, let's get rid of the artificiality that is attached to making a show in front of others. Because we are performing bhajan. We are not performing a show on a stage. So that is very important. We are not chanting our Harinam for the sake of others. Having understood this, dear devotees, now it is also important to understand that respectful japa has some good qualities. This is such an important verse in the Hari Bhakti Vilas that if properly understood, it can give us immense benefit. Many devotees give many good qualities of japa, qualities of good japa. But sometimes some devotees give some qualities which have been produced by their experience. Instead of depending on my experience, I am depending on the experience of Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sri Sanatana Goswami, who in turn are depending on the experience of eternal Shastra. Dear devotees, these are qualities of good japa, respectful japa, as mentioned in eternal Shastra. These have not come from my fertile mind. These have come from Shastra, dear devotees. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sri Sanatana Goswami in the Hari Bhakti Vilas say, Manah samharanam shaucham maunam mantrartha chintanam avyagratvam anirvedo japa sampatti hetavah. Japa sampatti hetavah. Hetu, the following qualities cause, they become the hetu. One, to attain japa sampatti, great results in japa. What qualities? So there are 6 qualities listed. What is the first quality? Manah samharanam. First is concentration of mind. Second is shaucham, cleanliness, external as well as internal cleanliness and purity. Maunam, silence. Mantrartha chintanam, chintanam, meditating on the artha, meaning of the mantra. Avyagratvam, non-haste, not rushing. Anirveda, non-dejection, not becoming dejected, after chanting a certain number of rounds or after chanting for a certain number of years. Japa sampatti hetavaha. These are the causes of japa sampatti, attaining great results in japa. Dear devotees, one by one, we will see all these 6. It is important enough for me to highlight here that I recommend that one should memorize this verse. Manah samharanam shaucham maunam mantrartha chintanam avyagratvam anirvedo japa sampatti hetava. Once we memorize this verse will become another necklace. And once we start our japa, we will remember that these are the qualities that are required. First and foremost, dear devotees, Manaha samharanam. Mental concentration. Many of us, when we sit down for chanting our japa, we sit down in an extremely disturbed state of mind. From the previous night, we have filled all the garbage from our mobile phone in our brain. And in the early morning, once we wake up, our alarm clock is on our mobile phones. And once we switch off the alarm, then switching off the alarm is not the only thing that we do. Then we open other venues of garbage that can be dumped on in our mind, dear devotees. These venues of garbage can include Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any political news which can disturb you at the beginning of your day. There was once a very funny cartoon, which I saw, very funny, joke which I saw, in which, it was mentioned. There was a very famous, I have seen this cartoon many times, or this joke many times. It says, "Good morning, America. What are we offended by today?" This is what. So this happens every morning, dear devotees. Every morning we open our news websites and a big truckload of garbage is dumped in our minds. Obviously, with this, we sit down for japa. And such japa cannot be with a concentrated mind. Why? Because, the Democrats are winning the next election. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Oh my goodness, what will happen if the Republicans win? My God, that will be doom for America. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. So, in this way, or for those of us who are in India, what if the Congress party wins the next election? Or, so dear devotees, this is, our mind is not situated in one place for performing quality japa. So, first and foremost, Acharya say, Manaha samharanam. Please bring back your mind. But I already dumped so much garbage in my mind. Now what should I do? And from previous night, there is a lot of garbage. Now what should I do? Sometimes we may not be doing this, but due to some other reasons, our mind may be disturbed. What to do? Dear devotees, the Acharyas teach us one very good principle in order to concentrate our mind. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, would you like to learn a principle to help you focus your mind immediately?
Yes, please.
All right. So, in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, there is a principle described. This principle is called pranayam. Pranayam means pran is life air. When we are disturbed, our life airs are disturbed. Ayam, to regulate the pran, the life airs, is called pranayam. Shri Gopal Bhatt Goswami and Shri Sanatan Goswami describe the practice of pranayam to bring the mind back in focus, to calm down the mind again. This is the description of pranayam as given in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Dear devotees, before we start chanting our japa, this should be before our japa. Sanatan Goswami will specify, before our japa. If our mind is disturbed, we can do something to bring back our mind. Sri Sanatan Goswami and Gopal Bhatt Goswami say, Rechah shodasha matrabhi puro dvatrimshata bhavet chatushashtya bhavet kumbha evam syat prana samyamah. Three technical terms I am introducing. These terms are taken from Ashtanga Yoga. Puraka-kumbhaka-recaka. All right? Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, please repeat after me. Purak.
Purak.
Inhalation.
Inhalation.
Kumbhaka.
Kumbhaka.
Retention.
Retention.
Recaka.
Recaka.
Exhalation.
Exhalation.
So these three terms we will easy to memorize. Purak. Purayati, that which fills you. Inhalation is called purak. Rechak, that which exhales, is called rechak. Kumbhak, that which retains like a pot, like a kumbha, jar, is called as kumbhak. So, when we are mentally disturbed, the Hari Bhakti Vilas, our acharyas recommend that we can perform pranayam for nadi shodhan, for purifying our nadis, for purifying our mind. Dear devotees, how to perform pranayam is a very simple technique he is giving. Perform purak, inhalation for 32 matras, kumbhak, retention for 64 matras, and rechak, exhalation for 16 matras. Now, what is a matra? A matra basically you can take as different individuals define matra in different ways. Some acharyas define matra as the time taken to clap one's hands 3 times. It's approximately 1.5 or 2 seconds. But if we take 1.5 or 2 seconds, then 32 matras will become 64 seconds. I'll have to inhale for 64 seconds. So this is for a perfected yogi, dear devotees. The ratio of purak, kumbhak and rechak, 32 matras, 64 matras and 16 matras, the ratio is 2:4:1. Which means for a beginner, you can begin with 6 seconds of inhalation, 12 seconds of retention, 3 seconds of exhalation. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, are you willing to perform a small experiment with me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. So when I raise my first finger, you have to perform purak for 6 seconds. All right. When I raise my second,
Inhalation.
yeah, inhalation, purak, same inhalation, retention, exhalation. All right. That is the sequence. Then when as soon as 6 seconds are over, I will raise my second finger. You have to retain it for 12 seconds. And then when I'll raise my third finger, you have to exhale it out. But before that, you have to have a disturbing thought in your mind. Right? Can you think of something which disturbed your mind recently?
Sure.
All right? Think of it in your mind. You don't have to tell me. All right? You don't have to disturb the entire Zoom call. Just yourself. All right? Okay. Purak for 6 seconds. You can mute yourself through Purak for 6 seconds. First exhale and make sure your lungs are empty. All right. Purak for 6 seconds. Kumbhak for 12 seconds. Rechak for 3 seconds. Do you feel slightly better?
Yeah.
Sri Sanatana Goswami says, pranayama trayam. 3 pranayams you have to perform in order to concentrate the mind. This is mentioned in the Hari Bhakti Vilas itself. So, before japa, in order to focus one's mind, one can optionally, it's not compulsory. Because for chanting Harinam, there are no rules. Please remember the most overarching principle. There is no vidhi for Harinam, which has been spoken of previously. All of these are recommendations. All these will be recommendations. Ultimately, one can attain perfection by chanting Harinam even at 12 o'clock in the night, upside down. No problem. There are no hard and fast rules. But when Shastra gives recommendations, we should take the recommendations seriously because these recommendations are for benefiting us. So, once again, Purak, Kumbhak, Rechak. The golden ratio is 2:4:1. Now you can, multiply it with as many number of seconds. So I gave 6 seconds, 12 seconds, 3 seconds for a beginner, and then you can gradually increase it. But you should not overdo it so that you feel uncomfortable. The entire point of this exercise is not to become uncomfortable. The entire point of the exercise is to help the mind focus and relax so that it can concentrate itself in one place. This is one. There is another pranayam described in Hari Bhakti Vilas, a second type of pranayam, which also has the same ratio. This pranayam has been taken from Kramadipika of Shri Keshavacharya. Rechayen marutam dakshaya dakshina urayed vamaya madhyanadya punah dharayediritam rechakaditrayam syat kala danta vidyakhyamatraatmakam. So the sadhak should perform puraka inhalation using the left nostril for 32 matras. Kumbhak retention by closing both nostrils for 64 matras. And rechak exhalation using the right nostril for 16 matras. Again, the ratio is the same. 2:4:1. 6 seconds, 12 seconds, 3 seconds for a beginner. Now, I will show how this is done. This is the second type of pranayam. First and foremost, it says that purak should be performed using left nostril. One closes the right nostril using the thumb and performs purak using the left nostril for 6 seconds. After performing purak, one closes both nostrils and maintains kumbhak for 12 seconds and then releases the right nostril and performs rechak in 3 seconds. This thumb for pressing the right nostril and this finger for pressing the left nostril and release again the right nostril. All right, this is very simple rechak kumbhak purak described in Hari Bhakti Vilas. All right, very simple. Golden ratio we have to remember. What is the golden ratio, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu?
2:4:1.
2:4:1. All right, please remember this ratio was given to us by our previous acharyas. Now, once you perform any of these two types of pranayam, you have to perform it how many times, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu, at the beginning of your japa, if your mind is unsettled?
3.
3 times. And if after japa also one has become tired, so Sanatana Goswami recommends after japa also you can perform 3 pranayams. So before japa, after japa, you can perform 3 pranayams in order to ensure the first quality. Manaha samharanam, bring back the mind from all the disturbances. All right. So this is the first principle, dear devotees. Now, it is Sri Sanatana Goswami who says, Japasya purata adau parata antecha iti pranayameshu kala. In the commentary to Hari Bhakti Vilas, 5th chapter, verse 132, he says, stipulated time for performing pranayam is Japasya adau, before, and antecha, and at the end of japa. And why before japa? Because mind is disturbed. Why at the end of japa? Because the mind may be tired by performing japa, dear devotees. For these reasons, Sri Sanatana Goswami prescribes this in his Digdarshini commentary to Hari Bhakti Vilas. Now, this was the first principle. Second principle, Shaucham, cleanliness. Many devotees think that we can just get up in the morning and without taking a bath, we can start chanting Harinam. Obviously, this is true. You can chant Harinam in any state of existence. But there is a recommendation given by Shastra. What is the recommendation? Is to take a bath and then chant Harinam, dear devotees. Then chant your japa. This recommendation is given. Where is the recommendation given? Sri Sanatana Goswami and Gopal Bhatt Goswami say in Hari Bhakti Vilas, Asnatastu puman narho japadi havanadishu. Asnatas, a person who has not taken snan or a bath, is na arho, is unfit for japadi havanadishu, for japa, Vedic sacrifices, etc. Although this verse is speaking about second initiation mantras, but it is also a good recommendation for Harinam, dear devotees. I hope you are able to understand. Now, in all circumstances, this may not be possible. I'll give you an example. Once I was traveling in a train and the train is 32 hours. And 32 hours, there is no facility to take bath on the train. I'm traveling 32 hours and then, I have to use the restroom. After using the restroom, so I am ashuchi. Ashuchi means unclean state of body. But next day arrives and I have not been able to take a bath. Should I chant Harinam or should I not chant? Of course I should chant. Because Harinam does not depend on external or internal purity. You can chant in any state of mind. But recommendation is given that snan, shaucha should be done. And this recommendation is given in Hari Bhakti Vilas. So these are not vidhis. These are not rules. These are healthy recommendations. Shaucham, external purification by taking a bath. Because for Vedic mantras, for Gayatri mantras, a person is not fit to chant unless they have taken a bath. So that for Gayatri mantra, this becomes a rule. But for Harinam, this becomes a recommendation. Now, this is external purification. Now, how to ensure internal purification? So, purification of the mind, consciousness, etc. is ensured not only by pranayam, but also by remembering Bhagavan. The Hari Bhakti Vilas quotes Garuda Puran. Apavitraha pavitro va, sarvavastham gato piva, yah smaret pundari kaksham sa bahyabhyantarah shuchihi. It's a very commonly quoted verse. Apavitraha pavitro va, a person may be unclean or clean. Sarvavastham gato piva, or may have gone through all sorts of material circumstances. Yah smaret, but when that person remembers who pundari kaksham, lotus-eyed Bhagavan, sa bahya abhyantara shuchi, he becomes fully cleansed internally as well as externally. Bahya, externally, abhyantara, internally, he becomes clean. So, actual purification is not through soap and water. Actual purification is through remembrance of Bhagavan, dear devotees. So, in situations where one is not able to take a bath, I gave one example, such as traveling in a train for a long number of hours. In such situations, complete cleanliness is ensured by remembrance of Bhagavan, dear devotees. So, we have completed two principles. Manaha samharanam shaucham. Third is maunam, silence. While chanting a mantra, one should not speak anything else. Now somebody may say, oh, now, but no, but we saw our Acharya, he's on video. We see when he was chanting japa, he was also speaking to others. Arey Baba, but that same Acharya, he has instructed many times, sit straight, chant with focus and concentration. Why do we always take those traits of the Acharya, which are suitable for our, selfish interests? We should take those traits of the Acharyas which they have recommended for all of us to follow. Silence during japa is another good quality. This will ensure that our japa does not get mixed with other thoughts. Sri Sanatana Goswami and Gopal Bhatt Goswami say in Hari Bhakti Vilas, Pralapan va japed yavat tavan nishphalam uchyate. Yavat, as long as pralapan, one is speaking during japa, till that time tavat nishphalam, one's japa is considered fruitless. So, as long as one is speaking to others during japa, till that time one's japa is considered fruitless. See, Harinam does not have any of these restrictions. Harinam may work even if you are speaking to others. But why not take a good recommendation from the previous acharyas? Right? So once again, on every step, I will remind that these are not compulsory rules. These are healthy recommendations when it comes to Harinam. Fourth, mantra artha chintanam, meditating on the meaning of the mantra. Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami and Sri Sanatana Goswami again say, Japasya puratah kritva pranayama trayam buddha mantrartha smriti purvam cha japed ashtottaram shatam moolam lekhyena vidhina sadaiva japamalaya. Japasya puratah kritva pranayama trayam, having performed 3 pranayams. This is where we understand how many pranayams to perform before japa. Japasya puratah kritva pranayama trayam buddha. An intelligent person having performed 3 pranayams before japa, what should one do? Mantra artha smriti purvam cha japet. One should first meditate on the meaning of the mantra. Before one starts the japa, one should meditate on the meaning of the mantra. This is called mantra artha chintanam. And what is the meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? There are many bona fide meanings given by the previous acharyas. Srila Prabhupada has also given a meaning. What meaning? Hare, O energy of Krishna. Krishna, O Krishna, please engage me in your service. This is one meaning given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Previous acharyas, Srila Jiva Goswami and Sri Gopal Guru Goswami, they have given many other bona fide meanings. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami has given. So if anybody wants, they can get, many meanings of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, meditating on the meaning. And in the commentary to this verse, Sanatana Goswami says, then offering oneself to one's beloved deity. I offer myself to you, Bhagavan, before I begin my japa. And then Japed Ashtottaram Shatam. Then chant 108 times on the beads. Lekhyena Vidhina, according to methods given in Shastra. See, nobody is watching you. You are chanting alone. You are not making a show here. Right? Not making a show. You are performing japa only so that you can become dear to Bhagavan. You can attain Bhagavan's seva. And not with an intention to show a record that today I chanted my 16 rounds before 6:30 in the morning. Dear devotees, this is not the purpose of japa as given by the previous acharyas. The previous acharyas could have made a sadhana sheet. Were they not intelligent enough to make a sadhana sheet? They could have written about a sadhana sheet which you can display on the wall in the society of devotees. But they know very well that the purpose of japa is not to make a show in front of others. Adambar, as it is called in Sanskrit. That is not the purpose of japa. The purpose of japa is one's personal sadhana in relation to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. That is what it is. Now, dear devotees, I would like all of you to consider one thing. Consider yourself all alone. Nobody is watching. There is absolutely no pressure or restriction of anything on your mind. And now you have to chant your japa. You voluntarily and lovingly pick up your japa mala. And then, considering all the good factors, cleanliness, concentration of mind, and then taking all these good factors together and adding sweetness, adding a feeling of Krishna is mine, I am Krishna's, I and mine in that japa. Then one focuses on the meaning of the mantra and then one begins one's japa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you report to your own self, dear devotees. Report to your own self. Actual progress. Where there is no need of making a show in front of anybody else. This is what sustainable, long-lasting progress is. Otherwise, progress made out of fear of senior devotees is not sustainable and long-lasting. I hope that this is understood. Otherwise, progress made out of a fear of loss of reputation in front of other devotees is not sustainable progress. So this is the fourth principle. Now, fifth principle, non-haste. There is a Hindi term which we call rail gadi jap, chanting like a fast bullet train. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Arey, wait. Where are you running? No, I have to finish my 16 round. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Rama. Arey Baba, hasteful japa will not give good result. It will lead to breaking of one of the two factors. Aadar, anudin. One of the two will break. Wait. Non-haste. Acharyas say something. Very nice verse. Shanai suvispashtam nadrutam na vilambitam Nanyunam nadhikam vapi japam kuryat dine dine. Daily, dine dine, one should chant one's mantra. How? Shanai shanai, in a slow manner. So vispashtam. Spashtam is clear. Vispashtam is very clear. So vispashtam, extremely clear. Na drutam, not very fast. Na vilambitam, not very slow. Not very fast. No, no. Wait. Na vilambitam, not too slow. Hare Krishna. Half an hour later. Hare Krishna. No, dear devotees. Na vilambitam. Na nyunam. Don't chant too less of a quantity. Na adhikam vapi. Don't chant too much also. Because if you try to overdo it, then you may lose one of the two factors, aadar or anudin. Because there are many super enthusiastic individuals who will force you. Oh, Ekadashi is coming. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, Prabhu, will you chant 108 rounds with me on this Ekadashi? Yes or no?
Yes, we'll finish it by 6 a.m.
Oh, yes, we'll finish by 6 a.m. We'll wake up
And then
by...
we'll do it again.
Yes, we'll do it again. We'll wake up by 2 a.m. and finish by 6 a.m. All right? And I'll
Sounds like a
have
plan.
Prabhupada's japa tape played at 2x the speed on YouTube. All right, Prabhu? So we can
We'll
follow
chant
this
along
speed.
with it.
Yes, we'll chant along with Prabhupada's tape at twice the speed on YouTube.
And we'll do it
Right?
really loud so we wake up all the other devotees who are in Maya.
Of course, they are sleeping and they don't understand the importance of Ekadashi. We should give benefit to others. All right, Prabhu? Let's wake up the entire Brahmachari ashram this
Yes,
Ekadashi.
Prabhuji.
All right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
And give them an Ekadashi they'll never forget. Okay, Prabhu? So, this is not how it is supposed to be done. Na nyunam na adhikam vapi. I had shared a quote from Srila Prabhupada some days ago. The Prabhupada said, do what your guru has told you. Because sometimes 16 is also difficult. So do what your guru has asked you to do. So, shanai, gradually. So, vispashtam. Very clearly. Na drutam, not very fast. Na vilambitam, not very slow. Na nyunam, not very less of a quantity. Na adhikam vapi, not too much of a quantity. Japam kuryat. In this way, chant your mantra. Dine, anudinam. Dear devotees, the recommendation for anudinam is right here in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Dine, anudinam. So if you have to chant dine, we should not be like the one who chanted 108 rounds on Ekadashi and next 15 days he did not chant any rounds. So let our japa not be like that. Sustainable, organic, natural japa as recommended by the previous acharyas. In all these principles, I have not used a single principle from my fertile mind. All of these have come from the previous acharyas, dear devotee, including pranayam. Actually speaking, pranayam is mainly pertaining to the domain of Ashtanga Yoga. But because the acharya spoke of it, therefore I also spoke of it. I recommended it because the acharyas recommended it. And it works, dear devotees. It definitely works. Now, sixth principle, non-dejection. Don't be unhappy. Don't feel burdened by your quantity of japa. Don't feel dejected. Our japa is a purely personal, individual practice. When japa is, as I have already specified, apane se tare, it is meant for one's own deliverance. So it is not meant for making a show in front of others. Non-dejection. When we are doing something for our own benefit, we should chant without the feeling of dejection. Dear devotees, that Supreme Lord who has created us, that Supreme Lord who has given us this human form of life, that Supreme Lord who has given us so many facilities, to not chant his name every day is one of the most ungrateful things that a person can do. Therefore, when we are chanting his names, let us chant with a feeling of gratitude, and non-dejection. Because as soon as dejection enters the mind, it becomes impossible to perform bhajan. Sri Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Shokamarshadibhir bhavair akrantam yasya manasam katham tatra mukundasya spurti sambhavana bhavet. Katham, how can there be even a slight possibility, sambhavana, of a spontaneous remembrance of Lord Mukunda for a person whose mind is overtaken, akrantan, by negative feelings? What negative feelings? Shoka, marsha, lamentation, anger, dejection, etc. It's not possible to remember Bhagavan favorably. And then we may have big scores on our scorecard. I know I chanted 64 rounds today and 108 rounds tomorrow and day after tomorrow. I chanted so many. Last time I think I had made this point. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, let's say you are hungry and you have two friends, myself and let's say Param Karuna Prabhu. You have two friends and you are hungry and I bring you 2 truckloads of popcorn. And so many number of popcorn. But Param Karuna Prabhu brings you one good plate where there are limited number of things to eat, but they're very nice. Dal and rice and there are sweets and there sabji. So would you take my 2 trucks of popcorn, Prabhu, or will you take 1 thali of food from Param Karuna Prabhu? What will you do?
I'm sorry, Prabhuji, but I think I'd take what Parama Karuna Prabhu has.
You don't like my numbers, Prabhu?
It's too much popcorn. I can't eat that much.
Krishna Chaitanya. So dear devotees, japa which is performed in great haste with an intention to achieve a large number becomes as light as popcorn and is unable to touch Bhagavan's heart or give satisfaction to him. Therefore, japa should be performed while ensuring good quality and a decent quantity. A decent quantity should be maintained. Dear devotees, in this way, respectful japa with 6 qualities was specified. Manah samharanam shaucham, maunam mantrartha chintanam, avyagratvam anirvedo, japa sampatti hetavah. The following qualities cause one to attain great results. Concentration of mind, manah samharanam. Shaucham, cleanliness or purity. Maunam, silence. Mantrartha chintanam, meditating on the meaning of the mantra. Avyagratvam, non-haste. And anirveda, non-dejection. In this way, dear devotees, please remember these 6 qualities and always remember that finally perfection in mantra will not be attained simply by these 6. Because mantra is a living entity. It's not a dead entity which we can somehow perfect. Mantra has a mind of its own. It's a living entity. Therefore, Sri Rupa Goswami finally says, Atah Sri Krishna namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyai sevon mukhe hi jihvadau swayameva sphuratyadah. Atah, therefore, Sri Krishna namadi, the names etc. of Sri Krishna are na bhaved grahyam indriyai. They are not within the grip of the material senses. Don't think that by adjusting the material senses, by performing pranayam etc., I will conquer Krishna Naam. No. This may help you in Krishna Naam. But you will not be able to win over Krishna Naam simply by these. But sevon mukhe, when the names see that the senses such as tongue, etc., are favorably inclined to seva, then swayameva spuratyada, then these names, etc., appear by their own accord on the pathway of such senses. So please use all these principles as helpful factors, as recommendations for your japa. But please know that Bhagavan's Naam is a conscious entity. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya. It is a conscious living entity. So it will bestow result by its own self when it sees the proper attitude within the senses of the sadhaka. Dear devotees, with this, I would like to conclude today's session. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvamsah purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. It is possible that I might have made a mistake while speaking. Vidvamsah, but you are all learned devotees. Purayantu tat. Please correct any mistakes. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit. But if there's anything nice, please remember. Tad Guru Reva. It came, all of it came from the Guru Janas. May nahi, none of it came from me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Hare Prabhu Prabhu. It's such a practical class for our japa, which we're doing every day, which is really our foundational practice. And you brought all these great quotations with wisdom from our acharyas that maybe we haven't all heard. So I think this will help a lot in our spiritual lives. Thank you very much. We're gonna go now to questions and answers. Please focus on today's class, or at least the Upadeshamritam, and leave time for other people. And try not to bring up anything like any loaded questions about particular people or institutions. And with that, we will begin with Bhavya Bhagavan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Naam Prabhuji. Thank you for your amazing class. You provided deep insights into how we can develop an attitude of respect towards holy name, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have this question, which is, relevant to this class also and the previous class also. So, Prabhuji, when
He got muted.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, when we are in a habit of inattention, okay, let's suppose while DT worship, I am doing DT worship also, and let's suppose I'm doing something else also, or while hearing Bhagavatam also, I'm distracted. So, during the course of all my activities during the day, be it spiritual and material, if I am not solely engaged and focused on the primary activity I'm doing, so then I have this consciously I am being inattentive. So will that inattention not come to japa also, Prabhu? Because the whole day I was doing things like that. So that is my question, Prabhu.
So your question is, if you are inattentive in one limb of bhakti, will that inattention not start pervading other limbs of bhakti? Short and sweet, that is the
Because
query.
I am getting into the habit of doing that.
Sure, definitely. There is a good chance that it will permeate other limbs of bhakti, because now it has become like a second habit. While performing DT worship, instead of singing for the DT, instead of focusing on the DT worship, one may be doing something else. You know, some people I have seen, once I saw, one individual while performing DT worship, he's speaking on the phone. So simultaneously speaking on the phone as he's serving the DTs. So distraction begins there. So once one normalizes distraction, then it is possible that that distraction can enter into other aspects of one bhajan. Unless one has a good guiding guru who does the course correction and tells them that such distraction should not be allowed. So it is definitely possible. Yes.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Jai Dwarka Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji. Once again, thank you for such wonderful explanation, Prabhuji. When you bring out these references, I am amazed many times at how our acharyas have answered in such great details, and these very important references have been not known to us for so long periods. So that's very unfortunate situation. Prabhuji, my question was from this point, as you mentioned this last verse, Shanai Shanai Suvispashtam Nadutam Na Vilambitam Nanyunam Nadhikam. So, Prabhuji, in this case, what is your recommendation for the devotees in general, unless they have developed complete aadar for the quantity they are already chanting, they should not increase their round? Is it your recommendation? For example, if somebody is not completely chanting one round with aadar, so he should not increase it to 2. Is it so?
Yeah.
Because that will take, I think...
No, it won't take much. It won't take a long time. If one is right now on one round, better to learn good principles in a small quantity rather than increasing the quantity with bad principles. But on a microscopic level, let him or her learn good principles. Because right now the pressure is not there on him to chant a certain quantity. Then gradually the devotee can himself or herself strike a balance. He can learn how to focus even while chanting at a certain speed. That they can do gradually. The entire art is that when you take one round, when the devotee is beginning with one round, the person who is guiding the devotee should guide the devotee in such a way that that one round should become the most joyous experience of his bhajan. That is how that devotee should be guided. Instead, sometimes japa is given as an imposition, or sometimes it is treated as a punishment. I have heard many of these explanations that Krishna is testing you when you are chanting your Harinam. Why will Krishna test me? Am I an enemy of Krishna? What have I done that Krishna has suddenly started testing me? Then better than this was when I was not chanting japa. At least Krishna was not testing me at that time. Suddenly I started becoming favorable to Krishna, and the first thing Krishna does is he starts testing me. This is what, these sorts of pseudo explanations are given to devotees. Better to inculcate Shastric principles. You're chanting one round, 6 principles. Manaha samharanam shaucham, maunam mantrartha chintanam, avyagratvam anirvedo, japa sampatti heta. Teach him japa sampatti. This will go long way for helping the devotee. The devotee learns what is japa sampatti. Devotee learns what is pranayam. Devotee performs one round quality. Then devotee gradually raises to 2 rounds, 4 rounds. Then is able to strike a balance. And then the devotee knows also I have to increase the quantity, because too low is also not recommended. So I have to increase my quantity. Then the devotee is able to strike a balance wherein he or she can give a time of 2 hours or 2.5 hours to chanting 16 quality rounds in the beginning of the day. And this I am speaking for one particular institution, which is, ISKCON. Other institutions have lesser number of japa prescribed. Different institutions have different numbers of rounds prescribed. So depending on the institution that they are a member of, they can gradually come up to the standard. So I hope that satisfies your query.
Next we have
Although I have
Tanvi
many
Des-
questions, I'll request you to answer in person. If you can answer it in group.
Yeah, sure. We can do. Or if you can wait, you can go round robin and come with the next round. All right.
Yes.
Next we have Tanvi Desai Mataji.
Sri Krishna Prabhuji, Tanvat Pranam. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, I have 2 small questions. Is it okay if I ask?
If they're small questions, that's okay.
Yes. So one related to the previous question only, that as Prabhuji said that good quality and decent quantity. But I don't remember the reference, but I had read that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had said that whatever is coming to your mind, even if there are distractions, anything, but you should continue chanting. So how should we understand that?
Yeah, whatever distractions come to your mind, you should continue your japa. What is the abhipray, acharya abhipray? What you heard the statement. What is the intention of the acharya in making that statement? Can you try to tell us what is the intention of the acharya in making that statement? Is the intention to tell us to continue chanting with inattention? Or is the intention to tell us to not reduce the quantity? What is the intention?
To not reduce the quantity.
So that is the acharya abhipray. But instead, if we take the intention as to continue chanting with inattention, that is not the intention of the acharya. The intention of the acharya is that you not reduce the number just because you feel you are not able to chant with attention. Instead, try to do something by which you will be able to chant with greater focus. Today I discussed some of those principles. I brought out a central verse which has 6 good japa sampatti hetu, 6 good qualities for attaining great heights in japa. So if we can try to ensure some of them or all of them, it will help us a lot. It will also fulfill the statement of the acharya, and it will not sacrifice any of the quantity that we have promised to our Gurujanas. That is the answer to your query. All right.
Yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, just one thing that there is one that meditating on the meanings of the shlokas. So in some acharyas, they tell the meanings related to pastimes or something, but we have to concentrate also on the name and the ucharan of the name. So if we concentrate on the meanings, then isn't it distracting, or how should we understand that?
Very good question. Therefore, Sri Sanatana Goswami, the question is, while we are chanting, if word by word we start meditating on the meaning, then we may not be able to focus on the sound. Then what should we do? Therefore, in the beginning of the mantra, there was mantrartha chintanam. Before you start japa, the chintanam happens. And when you start your japa, that meditation goes on in the subconscious part of your mind. That is not an active part word by word. It's in the subconscious part of your mind, but it is there. You have not forgotten it. So, in the subconscious part of your mind, you still know the basic meaning of the mantra. Mantra artha, basic meaning. Not that with every syllable you are doing word by word as it is done in the Bhagavatam. That's not what you're doing. You know the basic meaning in your subconscious mind, and that's how you are performing your japa. Basic meaning is, O Krishna, O energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service. This is basic meaning that was given by Srila Prabhupada. Now, if with every Hare, O energy of Krishna, Krishna, O Krishna, if we do like this, then we will not be able to focus. So, the bhavana, so Patanjali says, that japas tadartha bhavanam, artha bhavana, the intrinsic feeling behind that meaning should permeate our experience of japa. When we chant, that intrinsic feeling of that meaning, O Krishna, O energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service, that feeling, the condensed feeling should be there while we are chanting, not word by word. I hope that satisfies the query.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, what was the reference for Artha Bhavana?
Oh, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Tad Japas Tadartha Bhavanam. Right, this was Patanjali is speaking about chanting of Omkar, Pranav. Tasya Vachaka Pranava. That Omkar, Pranav is the denoter of the Supreme Absolute Truth. And Tad Japas Tadartha Bhavanam. That while you are performing japa of Omkar, you should have Arthi Bhavana. The condensed meaning should flow in the subconscious mind. That is what he was speaking about. So these principles boil down in many other shastras. Mantrartha Chintana. What is Mantrartha Chintana? Another way of saying Artha Bhavana. That is what it is. Right?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Next we have Vishwadeep Roy Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the class. It's always so much satisfying to the heart because always we get the instruction. It is always from the Shastra. So it's really satisfying to the heart. So I have a question that Upamshu Japa is Ishad Oshtha Chalanena, like we move our lip very slowly and the voice should be very low so that we can hear ourselves. But it somewhat becomes relative to where we are at the present moment. If suppose we are at a very silent place where nothing, no sound is there, so at that time that we can have the minimum voice. But if there is a sound of fan coming, the in that relative situation, the soft sound becomes more than the silent place. And if someone else is chanting, like to hear myself, it I have to increase my volume more. So it somewhat become relative. So how should we understand that? What is soft chanting?
All right. First and foremost, when Shastra is saying that japa is a activity for self-purification, and I quoted the Praman, Japile Sri Krishna Naam apane se tare, that it is for self-deliverance. So you are ideally supposed to sit alone while you are chanting your japa. Let's say if me and Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, we both sit. Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, would you like to receive benefit of my japa while you are chanting your japa?
No, thank you.
Arey, but
It
I
might
will.
distract me from my chanting. So we should both chant quietly.
But isn't the purpose of japa to give benefit to others?
Actually, Prabhuji, according to Chaitanya Bhagavat, it's to deliver yourself.
Oh, wonderful. So we should not sit in for japa with an intention for kirtan. So this is what when we are performing kirtan, the intention should be kirtan. When we are performing japa, the intention should be japa. How did the acharyas perform japa? Have we seen a painting of hundreds of acharyas sitting together and performing japa? Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, have you seen such a painting? Hundreds of acharyas performing japa?
No, Prabhuji.
Is there any place in Shri Vrindavan which is noted, or Mayapur which is noted, that in this place hundreds of acharyas used to sit together and perform japa together?
I haven't heard of it.
All right. Have you heard of solitary places for japa? Have you seen solitary places for japa of the acharyas?
Yes, actually.
Yes. So japa was traditionally meant to be a solitary activity. When it is a solitary activity, somebody else's disturbance is not there. I'll give you a classic example. Those of us who have gone to Shri Vrindavan, we might have seen Radha Shyam Sundar temple. Not ISKCON is the new Radha Shyam. There is Prachin, the traditional Radha Shyam Sundar temple, which is near Radha Damodar temple. Some of us might have seen. In that temple, there is an underground bhajan kutir of Shyamanand Prabhu. Some of us might have gone there. Have you been there, Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu, once? Underground bhajan kutir of Shyamanand Prabhu?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay.
When I went to the Radha Govinda Mandir, there's like an underground part.
All right. So how many people can fit in there, Prabhu?
It's really tight with even 6.
Yeah. So actually speaking, if you go to that Radha Shyam Sundar temple down below, it's actually meant for one person to sit and chant. So that is how japa should be. And you're saying Vishwadev Prabhu, you're saying that the fan is making a noise, that this is making. So you're supposed to ensure that your choicest place for japa is free from such distraction. You're supposed to put in efforts to find such a place. Otherwise, what is the point of being a dedicated sadhak if we are not able to find such a place? So we are supposed to find such a place if we have not found a place till now. We are supposed to optimize our experience of japa to the maximum possible limit. That is what is supposed to happen. I hope this clarifies.
Very much.
Thank you.
So much.
Next, we have Mohit Deshmukh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandapadana. Thank you so much for enlightening us again. My question was regarding mantra Artha Chintanam only, but half of that was answered previously only. So, please clear my understanding. Like we can, like it is like very difficult to, as you say, that we can't literally do like Hare, oh energy, Krishna, oh Krishna, then engage me in your service. So can we do like this? Focus on first Hare. Entire one round or somewhat whatever acharya gives the meaning of Hare, and then after second round we can meditate upon the name Krishna, and simultaneously it is happening subconsciously only, not we are like we are hearing the Krishna now.
The acharyas, see, if you focus only on one name, what will happen to the remaining 15? They poor 15 will have to wait.
The meaning of Hare.
I understand that. But what will happen to Krishna in the first round? Poor Krishna is waiting for second round. So why make him wait for second? What the acharyas have not recommended is kritrim, artificial. And all these have come from for somebody's fertile imagination. So better to follow what the acharyas have said. Before the mantra japa, do mantra artha chintanam. Focus on the meaning of the mantra. Internalize the meaning. Right? Internalize the meaning.
Yes.
Once you internalize the meaning, it goes into your subconscious mind. And then you focus on the actual words. And then the feeling of that meaning, artha bhavana, that feeling of the meaning should come out while you are performing japa. I hope you are able to understand.
Yes, Prabhu.
So when you are performing japa, you don't have to say engage me in your service. The feeling of please engage me in your service should permeate your japa. That is called artha bhavana. See, this is what was
The complete focus should be on the vibration of Harinam. Right.
And the heart should feel that intrinsic meaning, not word by word. All right.
Yes.
That's what it is.
And Prabhuji, one request, small request, can you share on WhatsApp group some meanings of Harinam, whatever acharyas have given?
Sure, I can do that. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yeah.
If we look at Gaudiya Vaishnav groups today and in the past, since the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is it traditional that when a devotee takes Harinam initiation that they vow to a certain number of rounds? And if so, like, what numbers have been traditional over time?
Actually speaking, Prabhu, traditionally, Naam Diksha, because Harinam Diksha, was not a separate initiation. Traditionally, the Guru would give, you chant Naam. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he met his Guru for the first time, his Guru, obviously gave him Diksha in secret mantras. But Guru also gave a general instruction, you chant Harinam. Like, you chant Harinam. So which Naam? So you chant Mahamantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This is like, that is what it is. So the instruction to chant Naam is a general instruction, traditionally. And mantra is given as Diksha. So traditionally there is one Diksha, and that is called Mantra Diksha. Now, because individuals are not immediately ready for Mantra Diksha, therefore, in some institutions, giving Naam has also been formalized as Diksha. So then step 1, step 2. That is what happens. Actually, there's one step. When Diksha means Mantra, when you are fully ready to get initiated, 1 year of testing between Guru and disciple, that Guru knows what it is, the disciple knows what it is, then the Guru gives the secret mantra to the disciple in the right ear, and then the disciple is considered as initiated. Naam does not depend on initiation. No Diksham. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says. Actually, traditionally for Naam, there is no specific Diksha procedure. So that is what Naam was. The Guru would give a recommendation. You should chant a certain number of rounds. But that was decided between the Guru and disciple. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, when he first started initiating disciples, so his recommendation to his disciples was 4 rounds. You chant 4 rounds. And this was given as a recommendation previously. So what is binding upon the disciple is mantra. The mantra is binding upon the disciple. So mantra, how many times? So Hari Bhakti Vilas says Dashadha Japet. Hari Bhakti Vilas says mantra, second initiation mantras, 10 times you have to chant. Now 10 times is not that big of a quantity. So people, that was binding upon the disciple. But Naam, sometimes the Guru would give a fixed quantity, recommended quantity. Sometimes the Guru would say, this is recommended, you chant this much or more if you can. Then people would have, those who would have their natural taste would increase their japa naturally. This is what happened traditionally. So I hope that satisfies your query.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Next we have Madhav Tripati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class. It's clearing so many doubts about the Tattva of Harinam. Prabhuji, I had a little question about the speed of chanting. So, like as you said that we don't have to be hasty. That is like, I understand we don't have to be like hasty in the sense in the mind, we don't have to be hasty and our words should also be properly uttered. But relatively speaking, some people can actually concentrate better when they chant fast. Like I also find this myself that when I chant a little faster, so although clearly trying to be as clear as possible, that helps me concentrate better on the syllables and also helps me connect more with the names. So is that all right or has to be changed?
Therefore, the verse did not give a fixed speed. Na dhrutam, na vilambitam. Not too fast, not too slow. So what is too fast for one may be too slow for somebody else. And neither did the verse give a fixed number. Na nyunam, na adhikam. Not too less, not too much. This is in continuation. I'm continuing answering Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu's question. Sri Sanatana Goswami could have there given a number when he said not too less, not too much. That was a perfect place to give a number. But there also he didn't give a fixed number. Neither too less nor too much. Which means according to the situation of the individual. The Guru has to decide. Similarly, according to your situation, if you are confident that you are able to focus on Harinam and give it aadar and ensure good qualities in your japa at a certain speed, you can do so. If but if please don't cheat, because if you cheat, you will be cheating yourself, nobody else. All right?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
I'm going to pass control over to Paramakaruna Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. So yeah, we will go to Omkar Prabhu. Please unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanwad. Prabhuji, in the today's class, I had the question regarding the Smaran japa. When a person is doing the Smaran, so you said that we have to remember the syllables in the mind. So I had a doubt, like the script part, as we know that in Vedic times, the scripts have changed for a lot of time. And the much part of it is on focus of like on Shruti, that is what we hear from the Guru. So basically, how would it be applied for the second initiation mantras? And even if we consider the point that the script changes a lot, so how would this match with this point?
What difference does it make if the script changes?
My main point was that is it the point that we have to remember the each syllable, or we have to remember the sound, or basically what we are exactly speaking in mind?
No, you are speaking of manasika japa. In manasika japa, it was recommended by the acharyas that you should visualize the syllables in front of your eyes. So that is there in Hari Bhakti Vilas, in the 17th Vilas. In Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is specified that akshar should be visualized in front of the mind. I'll try to pull out the reference, but the point of that is because you are not uttering the sound through your mouth, your mind needs something to hold on to. So if your mind is not holding on to the sound uttered by your mouth, what will your mind hold on to? What will your mind latch on to? So that is what it is. Did that answer your query?
I'm trying to find him to unmute. 1 second, Prabhuji.
Right. Meanwhile, I'll share the screen. This Hari Bhakti Vilas 17th chapter. This is verse number 158. This is describing Manas Japa, Manasika Japa. Dhiya yad, with your intelligence, your mind, your intelligence, Akshara Shrenya, the series of letters, Varnat Varnam Padat Padam, alphabet by alphabet, term by term. What do? Shabda Artha Chintana Abhyasaha. You practice meditating on the Shabda, the term as well as Artha, its meaning. Sa Ukto Manaso Japa. That is known as Manasik Japa. So it's very clearly it is specified that you have to meditate not only on the Shabda. He says here in the commentary, Itham, in this way, Shabdasya Arthasya Cha, both word and the meaning, Chintanam, Anusandhanam. You have to meditate both on the term and the meaning. That is what it is. I hope that satisfies your query.
This should be for the second initiation mantras also.
Or if your guru has told you to chant first initiation mantra also in Mansik manner, that is also possible.
So this applies on the both.
It is the japa is for all sorts of mantra, na? So,
Yes. Yes.
so it applies to whatever the Guru has instructed us to perform japa. So that is what it is. If the Guru has told us to perform manasika japa of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you can also apply this on Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It depends on what personal instruction was received from the Guru. That is what it is. Okay, but I told you
Yes.
what is the definition of manasik japa, and along with the commentary of Sanatana Goswami. You have to visualize the syllables and you have to think of the
Yes.
meaning also. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the Dandapana.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Deepayan Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you again for a very wonderful class. Mine is just a very small question. That mantra you showed, right? Apavitra pavitro va sarvavastham gato piva yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhaya abhyantara shuchi. So if we are not yet dikshit, so we should not chant the Omkar kya at the beginning.
You are not initiated, you should not chant Omkar at the beginning. The Hari Bhakti Vilas verse does not have Omkar in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
All right. So you just chant it as it is. Apavitra, pavitro. Otherwise, you will put another condition on the mantra that you have to chant it with Omkar. That is not what is recommended. Yes,
Yeah,
Maret
no,
Pundarikaksham.
I've heard it chanted like that.
Yes, Maret Pundarikaksham. That's all. One who remembers lotus-eyed Bhagavan becomes internally, externally cleansed. That is the condition. So let's not add more conditions on the conditions that have already been specified. So I hope that answers the query.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Akshay Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My question was, Prabhuji, I have heard statements of Srila Prabhupada where he says, first comes the quantity, then comes the quality. But in our today's discussion, I found out that essential principle is quality, aadar. So how to reconcile this statement?
I have to see where Srila Prabhupada says first comes quantity, even at the expense of quality. So I am doubtful that such a statement exists. Both are not mutually exclusive, quantity and quality. He was not the, once again, what is the Acharya Abhipraya? What is the intention of the Acharya? Let's say even if he has made such a statement, what is the intention of the Acharya? There can be two intentions. First, sacrifice the quality and increase quantity. Second, increase quantity without sacrificing quality. What do you think is the Acharya Abhipraya, intention of the Acharya?
Second, without sacrificing quality, increase.
Oh, so thus you have understood Acharya Abhipraya. All right. Your question is answered by your own self. Congratulations. Right. Okay. I hope that satisfies your query.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Then we will go to Sachindra Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, wonderful. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I've really relished this class. I love classes on japa because it's been a topic for me for a very long time to improve my japa. I listened to few of your other lectures in different cities on japa, kirtana and smaran. This fit in very nicely, especially you added even more nectar with that Hari Bhakti Vilas verse, which I will definitely try to memorize, even though I'm not great. My question is regarding what happened, obviously Srila Prabhupada introduced the japa session, I think 5 to 7, in which everyone is doing vasika japa. And it's very hard to do upamshu. And for me personally, I normally never go to those japa sessions for, since time immemorial, since I can remember, because it's hard for me to hear myself. And so therefore, my question is, why was that introduced? If all of the acharyas, as you're saying, emphasize upamshu japa even in solitude to such a great degree, why is it introduced? And are we all doing it wrong then? And, is there...
Okay. So, Prabhuji, please keep unmuted. I would like to ask a few questions. When you have seen Srila Prabhupada performing japa, have you seen most of the time him performing japa in a group, or have you seen him performing japa in a room alone?
Probably alone. I've tried to search out Srila Prabhupada doing it, but yeah, it's probably alone. He's doing it.
Yeah, in most of the videos that you have seen, either he's gone a morning walk, and when he's on a morning walk, are other devotees trying to put their voices of japa in his ears? Is that happening? No. And many of the videos some videos are where he's performing japa in his room. There is one video where he's performing japa in his room. So
Yes.
at least I have not seen a video of Srila Prabhupada where he's performing japa with hundreds of devotees or, many devotees together. And since there are already videos of Srila Prabhupada where he's performing japa alone, that is already a good standard of performing japa, and it also aligns with the standard given by the previous acharyas. What do you think?
I think that's perfect, but then who introduced the 5 to 7, after Mangal Arati?
5 to 7 is a good recommendation. Did Srila Prabhupada say that if somebody doesn't follow this, then something negative will happen?
No.
Of course no, because you can't put conditions on Harinam. On one hand, if we chant Niyamitah Smaranena Kalaha, there is no fixed time to remembering it. And in the very same, after a few sentences, we put a time restriction on it. We will contradict ourselves. So it's important to understand that recommendations were given by Srila Prabhupada, and these should be taken as recommendations. I'll ask you another question, Prabhu. Let's say there is a Vaishnavi, a lady who's pregnant, and she also has a child who is 2 years old. When she wakes up in the morning, she has to take care of her child who's 2 years old, and she also has to take care of herself because she's pregnant. She'll not be able to chant in the early hours of the morning. So does it mean that her japa cannot be effective? What do you think?
Absolutely not.
So, which means her japa can be effective. You agree, right?
Correct. Yes.
Of course. So, recommendations should be taken as recommendations. If it is possible to follow, today also I gave many recommendations. So, if it is possible to follow recommendations, we should follow them to the best of our ability. And if it is not possible to follow recommendations, still Harinam works, even if some of the recommendations may not be followed according to the letter of the law. That is what it is.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. We will go to Mihika. Prabhu or Mataji?
Mihika. She's a young girl, Mihika. Very good.
Okay. Mihika Mataji. You are unmuted. Please speak.
Right. We can come back to her.
Sure. Now, I think we are in the second round here. All the devotees are second round. So we will go to Vishwadeep Prabhu. Please unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Can you tell something about the chanda of the second verse you quoted for Rechak and Purak?
You want to know the
Rechayan Marutam.
That's one of the rare meters. Let me try to. I'll have to do the syllable calculation. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Vishwadeep Prabhu, there seems to be a lot of noise in your microphone. Okay, yeah, if Haripashit Prabhuji asks you any counter question, I'll ask you to unmute at that point.
Yeah. So basically, he just wants to know the meter of that verse, right?
Looks like
yes,
meter is Sragvini. All right. I will share my screen and type the name for you. The meter is Sragvini. I will share my screen and I will show you the name. Okay. This is the meter, Sragvini. All right.
12 syllables.
So Sragvini is the meter, and on every particular line, Basically, Sragvini is called as Samavritta. Samavritta means on all lines there are equal number of syllables, right? And on every line there are 12 syllables. So 12 into 4, but the pattern is the same on every line, right?
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Sragvini is the name.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. So we have a couple of new devotees. We'll go to Vrinda Sundari Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. My obeisances. I'm wondering about you quoted about feeling dejected about the holy name, and when one feels like discouraged or dejected around the holy name and in relationship to. So I'm wondering how else can we support someone in developing a better relationship with the holy name after they've maybe like taken vows to chant a certain number of rounds with their guru, but then after many years they find themselves in a situation where they're feeling very challenged in doing so. And so there's lots of feelings of like failure and discouragement, and just then every time they chant they feel like they're not doing enough and whatever. There's just that negativity around chant.
So for such a devotee, my recommendation, this is my personal recommendation, is that such a devotee who has become dejected because of negative experiences, such a devotee should be told to chant japa in a completely informal manner, which means that no pressure or no institutional or individual pressure should be there on that particular devotee. They have to rediscover their relationship with japa. In order to do that, they should be told that, like I told today, like Sri Rupa Goswami, he had nobody to make a show in front of anyone. Similarly, they also don't have to make a show in front of anyone when they are chanting japa. So remove all those formal restrictions from them, and then we have to gradually tell them that although you are supposed to chant a certain number of rounds, what you can do is you can begin by chanting one affectionate round. Sanskrit term is Sneha Samyukta Naam. So one Naam, one round which is done in a Sneha Samyukta, affectionate manner. And let's call that the golden round of the day that you may do. And other rounds you may do, as you do usually. But try to have that one round in an affectionate manner where all the good qualities of japa are present, and where there is absolutely you don't force yourself, and where you are performing japa because you seriously want to have a relationship with Bhagwan which is independent of other people's opinions. Because some people, they think that I will only go back to Godhead if a certain institution gives me a certificate. And when it seems that the institution is no longer giving them that certificate, they become disappointed. So they have to be freed from those shackles. Now the person who is guiding them should be expert enough to free them from those shackles. Because let me assure you one thing, that no matter how advanced somebody is in their bhajan, the institution can never give somebody a certificate of going back to Godhead. Because this is the very nature of institutions, and I'm not speaking of any institution in particular. All institutions are in the same boat. They expect a lot from the sadhakas. A lot is expected from the sadhakas. And in turn, they won't even give a simple certificate of going back to Godhead to the sadhaka. Right? So when they cannot give a simple certificate of going back to Godhead to the sadhaka should also at some point of time have the freedom to become detached from some of the strings that were artificially placed on them. I hope that answers your query.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Mihika Mataji, would you like to unmute and ask your question now?
Yes, Prabhuji. Can you hear me now, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for the explanation on verse 7. So Prabhu, my question is that how you said that we should always be attentive, like that's a recommendation. So like when lectures are going on and we have to do extra rounds, so should we like do both of them parallelly, or like we shouldn't do a lot, like we shouldn't listen to the lecture and chant at the same time?
Acha, Mihika, tell me one thing. Who decides extra rounds?
Us.
Then if you are deciding extra rounds, then why are you purposely mixing it with another limb of bhakti?
Cause like that thing came there, and like it's like we have like like not extra, but like we have rounds to do.
No, you said you have extra rounds. Extra means who decided that? You said you decided the extra. You could have as well decided not to do the extra and instead focus simply on the Bhagavatam class. Or you could have decided not to go to the Bhagavatam class and simply focus on the extra rounds. Where is your ruchi? Where is your taste? Which direction is your taste in? Is it in the class or is it in the japa? That you decide.
In both.
In both. But then one thing at a time. Why mix both of them when you cannot do justice to, if you mix both of them, you'll not be able to do justice to any one of them. So why mix both of them?
Okay, Prabhuji.
So the best thing is recommended number of rounds, that is 16 number of rounds, or after Diksha, what has been told by the Guru, what has been promised to the Guru, 16 number of rounds. Those rounds one has to do in a quality manner. Any extra rounds one can do if one has a favorable situation and one has a favorable mental situation and external situation. Both situations are favorable, you can do any number of extra rounds. But if external situation demands that you listen to the Bhagavatam class and focus on the Bhagavatam class, then you focus on the Bhagavatam class, because that is also a limb of bhakti. You are spending your 24 hours executing 64 limbs of bhakti. So why purposely try to mix them in such a way that it will create distraction both for japa as well as for your shravan, your hearing? So that is generally not recommended. I hope that answers your query.
Yes.
Extra rounds are decided by you. Let nobody force you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. We will go to Adi Bhagavan Prabhu. You are unmuted.
Yeah, I am unmuted, Prabhuji. Are you able to hear?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can speak loudly, that will be better. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the class and bringing out from Hari Bhakti Vilas the 6 points. Prabhuji, in that question is about the concentration of the mind. So sometimes, Prabhuji, we hear that actually some devotees give some techniques how to concentrate the mind better, maybe from their experience, or I don't know if it is from Shastra, like chant one mantra at a time and chant one syllable at a time, or like that. So my question basically is that you mentioned something about being artificial, about trying to bring out sometimes these kind of recommendations. So I want to know whether is it like person to person, because some people it may work to concentrate, and sometimes it may not work from somebody, and sometimes it may be brought out that okay, how many mantras you are able to concentrate is the advancement in Krishna consciousness, that is being equated sometime. So can you just clarify if this is in the Shastra, or how do we understand this recommendation?
See, different devotees may give recommendations according to their experience. We respect all the devotees. No disrespect to anybody. But if these recommendations are not coming from Shastra, then they cannot be all applicable. Let me give an example of this. Does pranayam, now you only answer, Adi Bhagavan Prabhu, does pranayam help only one certain people or does it help all people?
Yeah, certain people it may help, yeah. For
So
others,
pranayam
it may not
helps.
be.
Why pranayam doesn't work for everyone?
I'm saying in the sense you said it may not be required for those who require you
No,
need
no.
that qualification.
No. If people, if you say you take 10 people who require to concentrate their minds and they do pranayam, will these 10 people all get benefit? Yes or no?
Yes, all of them will get benefit. Yeah.
Yes. But if I take an artificial technique, which I might have gotten from somewhere from outside, it may not be all applicable because it may work on certain people, it may not work on certain people. So, Shastra is that which is Sarva Purusha Paramparasu. It works within, all kinds of human being. It works with all sorts of human beings. So the solution that we should ideally give is something which should work not only for the strongest person, but also for the weakest person. And Shastra takes care of that. So my tendency is to give that solution. Somebody may give another solution from their experience, but then they have to take the responsibility of that solution working. Because if the solution doesn't work, who will take the responsibility? So that responsibility has to be borne by them only. So therefore, it is best to give recommendations which are there in Shastra. And then if those statements like that, if they are made that as many number you are able to concentrate, that is your advancement. At least I have not heard any statement to that effect in the Shastra. Shastra says if you are not able to, concentrate, it may lead to namabhas or even namaparadh, which is apipramadha, which is basically being inattentive. That is what Shastra says, and that I have put it in front of you as it is.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope that clarifies.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. We'll go to Sundar Gopal Prabhu. I don't think he asked up before.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Hare Pārṣada Prabhu. Thank you very much for wonderful class. I just wanted to ask you the question in regards to the Mataji. I think last questions he asked, and you said about affectionate japa. So apart from the 6, characteristics of japa today you described, is that what you mean, or is there something else to, chanting that one affectionate japa?
Yeah, that's something which I have not yet introduced till now. In the subsequent sessions of Upadeshamritam, I will speak about Sneha Samyukta Japa, Sneha Samyukta Naam. So, I will introduce the concept and how to go about doing it. That also will be introduced. But in short and sweet, chanting Bhagwan's Naam by considering oneself as belonging to Bhagwan and considering Bhagwan as belonging to oneself, with the feeling of belongingness. Because I and mine, our I and mine has not become involved with Bhagwan till now. So Ajamil, when he chanted his son's name, actually he chanted Narayan. So why did the Vishnu Dutas come? Because his Naam was imbued with Sneha, affection towards his son. Nonetheless, affection was there. That feeling of I and mine, that feeling that who is there for me at the moment of my death? Oh, my son Narayan. So that feeling of affection was imbued in the name that he chanted. Sneha Samyukta Naam. If that feeling of affection for Bhagwan is present in our japa, that will help us, our advancement in a much rapid way. That is what it is.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. We'll go to Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this wonderful class. Prabhuji, about chanting always, we have had so many things. We have to chant always. We should, for some people, when they are chanting too much, even in the sleep, they want to feel, they get the chanting. So in that case, there is no attention. And we hear kirtan while doing a work. There is no attention. And also I heard one story from Dāsa Bhaktamala, that one Mataji was chanting in the katha in Radha Kund, hearing one Babaji, and she has the habit of chanting always. Her lips keeps moving, and she was chastised that you stop chanting, you have to hear the Bhagavatam class. And then later on, she said, no, I'm really concentrating, I'm hearing, it's my habit, so don't mind. But because of that chastisement, the Babaji who gave the lecture fall down. So what is this? Some are able to do both.
All right. The first question you asked is, there are many things you asked. First thing you asked is, we hear many instructions on chanting constantly, right? So let's tackle one at a time. Param Karan Prabhu, what was the first question? We hear many instructions on chanting constantly. So
I am forgetting. I have asked Mataji.
There is no attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some people are chanting in sleep.
While sleeping, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we have to see the yardstick for advancement is given in Shastra. If Shastra says that chanting without attention is not recommended, then it is safe to say that chanting without attention is not recommended. There is no harm in saying like that. People will say, even if you chant without attention, just increase your quantity. Increase your quantity, all right. But then it will lead to aparadh. But okay, still increase your quantity. But array, if I chant for multiple lifetimes also with such increased quantity, I am not going to attain. And Chaitanya Charitamrita has specified this in Bahu Janma Kari Yadi Shravana Kirtan Tabu Tana Paye Krishna Pade Premadhan. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 8.16, where it was specified that Bahu Janma Kare, for multiple lifetimes also, Yadi Shravana Kirtan, but Tabu Tana Paye, still they will not attain Krishna Pade Premadhan. If one is infested with the 10 offenses in chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant holy name for many births, he will not get love of Godhead. So ultimately, it's not simply about increasing the quantity, it's also about attaining prema. And that prema is not simply a product of quantity. That prema is a product of Bhagwan's ichha. It comes by Bhagwan's sweet will and also our sadhana. So intensity of sadhana plus Bhagwan's desire, both should be there. But simply increasing sadhana to a great extent, those people who are saying that, they don't understand the mood of Srila Rupa Goswami. What is the mood of Srila Rupa Goswami? The mood of Srila Rupa Goswami is that bhakti has 6 characteristics. One of the characteristics is bhakti is sudurlabha. Sudurlabha means she is very rare to attain. And why is she rare to attain? And Sri Rupa Goswami quotes a very nice verse. I am sharing this verse with you. You can check out this verse. It's a very important verse for those who say that number should be increased as much as possible, even if quality is sacrificed. No. Rupa Goswami says something opposite. Sadhan aughair anasangair. Sadhan aughair. A big quantity of sadhan. But anasangair, without attachment to Krishna. Alabhya. Then pure bhakti will remain unattainable. Suchiradapi, even if you do it for a long time. So this is very, very clearly Rupa Goswami saying bhakti is sudurlabha, because if you perform a huge mass quantity of sadhan, but anasanga, there's no feeling of I and mind towards Krishna. Alabhya suchiradapi. Suchiradapi you perform for a long time, births and births, but alabhya you will not get uttama bhakti. Forget about it. So this is what I am recommending here is the line of thought of Srila Rupa Goswami. Please try to understand. See, devotees give different lines of thought. That's all right. But we want to follow the royal highway of progress that has been made by the previous acharyas. So somebody may want to put faith in some other devotee statements, but I wish to put faith in Srila Rupa Goswami's statement. This is what it is. So I hope that clarifies.
Yes, Babaji. So even for kirtan also it applies? Japa, kirtan?
For everything, we should perform, if we perform one limb of bhakti at a time, we should perform that one limb of bhakti with very good attention. Very good attention.
So while working, while hearing kirtan, while doing seva, it's not correct then.
Mataji, hearing kirtan is not kirtan. Hearing is called shravan. Hearing is not called kirtan. Hearing is called shravan. Even in shravan, it is recommended that you hear attentively. But if you don't hear attentively, there is no aparadha as such mentioned. Aparadha is for nama japa, nama kirtan, nama smaran. That is what the aparadha is for. Shravan is a different limb of bhakti. That is what it is. Right?
There was a
Yes,
second
Prabhuji.
part to
Thank
your
you so much.
there
Yeah,
was a question that was
the
distinct.
story. Yeah, the story. I think it is because the person offended in the very
Come
harsh
out
way.
with
Maybe that might be the reason.
No,
Because
even
the
I
Mataji had the
don't.
habit of.
So if the story says something like a devotee was able to focus on two things at once, and somebody prevented that devotee and spoke some harsh words to them, so thus because of speaking some harsh words, that person might have experienced, not fault, he might have experienced, a degradation of his bhajan. So that is what it might have been mentioned in the story. But some devotees are able to do two things at once, and they are able to do it confidently. As long as they are convinced about it, that's very good.
Very clear, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Now, yeah, we will go to Mohit Deshmukh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pranayam. Thank you for giving second chance. Prabhu, I'm not judging anyone or pointing anyone, but this doubt came to me that we see some devotees chant more rounds of japa in less time. Of course, we can't say that they are not qualitatively chanting Harinam, because I have also sometimes experienced that when our intensity to chant increases naturally and organically, our speed of Harinam increases. We don't focus on the speed, but it automatically increases. And of course, our motive is to not to chant more rounds, but to chant attentively and offenselessly. But the question comes, how is it possible that some do 64 rounds or a big number of rounds and some in less time? Do they do manasik japa or what? Like some chant in 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or like very much less time.
Some may be doing like that. Some may be doing manasik japa or this or that. The question is basic this. What is attained by a greater number?
More smarana of Bhagavan, more like absorption in Bhagavan. Not in more rounds, but more rounds with attentive chanting.
I understand. You could have done chanting on a normal speed and spent the same amount of time doing smaran. What happens when you increase the quantity?
Don't know, Prabhu.
I showed a verse from Rupa Goswami which said sadhano ghai ranasanga.
Yes.
Mass heap of sadhan also. But if it is anasanga means there is no asakti towards Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So alabhya, you'll still not be able to achieve the desired result. And if you have asakti, if you have attachment to Krishna, then no matter what speed you are doing, or your asakti will be there. So it's not about the increased quantity does not in itself produce anything distinct. Because if an increased quantity would have produced something distinct, Rupa Goswami would have given a number. Na?
Yes, Prabhu.
How many number of rounds has Rupa Goswami recommended in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu?
It is said in Shastra, whatever your guru orders, chant that much rounds.
But isn't it about quantity?
No, Prabhu.
So it's about pleasing Bhagwan. which can also happen if a Yavan, a Muslim, chants haram once. That can also happen. You agree, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Recently, the post, like the verse you shared on.
Wonderful.
Very small question regarding iron mind. You previously in previous section you have cleared that doubt that iron mind towards Bhagavan, that oh Krishna, oh Sham Sundar, I am yours and you are mine. But as you like there you mentioned that verse that when our diksha happens and when the sambandha creates between us and Krishna, at that time we can say Krishna, you are mine and I am yours. But if we see the verse Jivera Swargo Krishna Rintadas, eternally we are the servant of Krishna and we belongs to Krishna and he also belongs to us. So we can answer to the some devotees who questions us that how can you say Krishna like as Krishna yours? How can you say Krishna is not yours? Krishna is the sampatti of devotees. That is the fact actually. But while we can have this mode, right? Even before initiation, that Krishna is mine and I am Krishna's.
See, if you start dividing devotees as pure devotees and non-pure devotees, that boundary you will never be able to breach. Do you think there will be one day when you will start declaring that today I am pure devotee, so today I can start calling Krishna as mine?
Not at all.
So let Krishna take care of the boundaries. You take care of trying to develop, proximity to Bhagavan. And the feeling of I and mine towards Bhagavan. That is what is required. Let Krishna take care of the boundaries as to who is pure and who is not pure. That is what I would recommend. Right?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Murli Mohan Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Very good. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
My pranams.
Are you able to hear?
Yes.
After a long time asking a question. Just few moments before, one Mataji has asked one question that no matter the quality of chanting, quantity can be increased or whatever, but sometimes Prabhuji, I feel that I also say that no matter if you are not concentrating on the name, but continue chanting, because that person who has started recently chanting, he comes and says, Prabhuji, I am not able to concentrate, so I cannot chant. ऐसा वैसे बोलते हैं. So then I say, no matter if you don't concentrate also, but you continue chanting. Is that wrong? Because I give an example of an office. So in the office, an employee is not working for all 8 hours. Maybe he's working for 4 hours, 6 hours, but not all, but he's getting the salary of 8 hours. In this way, I sometimes give example and say that no matter if you're not able, but this is for the new people. I don't say this to the regular chanters or initiated devotees, but those who have started newly to have taken to chanting, for them I say, is it correct or wrong? I just want to know.
So the thing is, it's a good thing to encourage devotees to not slacken their vow of japa. It's a very good thing. And at the same time, they are looking for a solution. And the solution cannot simply be continue doing what you're doing. The solution has to come from a level of thinking which is higher than the problem. So we should also attempt to give a genuine solution to their distaste of Harinam. Because experience has shown that those who have distaste, if they continue with the distaste doesn't go away. Experience will show with many individuals. But if some higher factor is introduced through Shastra, then there is a good possibility that the distaste may go away and taste may come. So along with recommending them to continue their vow of chanting, if some additional factors such as some of the ones which I showed today, or association of a devotee who has taste, that automatically, brings Yasya yat sangatihi pumso manivat syat satat guna. Just like a crystal takes on the color of the object on which it is put, similarly, a devotee takes on the quality of the devotee whom he or she associates with. So, finally, it's not only about working for 3 or 4 hours in the office. It's also about increasing productivity in the office, in your example. No, he's getting salary for 8 hours. But ideally, he should work for also 8 hours. So that will be a win-win situation for the office as well as for the individual. He should start loving his work in the analogy that you gave. All right.
Yeah,
So something.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
so some additional factors should also be introduced, and simply telling them that just continue what you're doing is okay, but they are looking for something more. This is what I feel.
Yeah, in future classes we can add that.
Yes. Yes.
As
That,
is, yeah.
yes. That
Yeah.
that would be my recommendation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Next, we have Bhavya Bhagwan Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu for giving me another opportunity to ask my doubt. So, Prabhuji, my question is like, I don't remember exactly when, but I had heard it long back. In order to chant pure name, in order to, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there's a lot of background noise, Prabhuji, in your.
Yeah,
Prabhu,
now,
I think
quieter
multiple
place.
people are multiple people are.
Yeah, now
unmuted.
please ask your query. Please ask your query.
Yeah. Yeah. So Prabhuji, I'd heard long back that in order to chant pure name, we have to chant in the association of a pure devotee. And that is why we do our rounds with Prabhupada's tape and like that. I think so what I can recollect is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends this, that in order to chant pure name, we have to chant in the association of pure devotee. Prabhu, can you give a reference, and if you know if it's correct? I mean,
The thing is, Prabhuji, first and foremost, to chant in the association of a pure devotee, there it has a big context to it. We have somehow flattened it into chanting with a tape recorder. How can these two things ever be equal? Chanting in the association of a pure devotee and chanting with a tape recorder. Please, I will give you a very simple example, and this one simple example alone will help us understand. Let's say somebody is affected with Naam Aparadh, and one Naam Aparadh, he considers Shiva and Vishnu to be completely separate entities. How will this aparadh go away? By listening to a tape of chanting. Please tell me.
no, I mean, he has to understand the tattva and.
But the tape will not
meditate
give him the tattva.
Yeah.
So when the acharyas say that you have to chant in association of a Shuddha Bhakta, it means that you have to receive shiksha from them regarding japa, kirtan, smaran. That shiksha is not given by a tape. That shiksha is a living process. Always, shiksha is a living process. And a person's, in many places in the Upadeshamritam sessions, I have said that a person needs custom-made, tailor-made, individual, out-of-the-box solutions given by the Guru. Unconventional Guru is needed. Can a tape recorder become an unconventional Guru?
Never.
So then, how? I'm surprised that, there are individuals who are equating chanting with a tape recorder to chanting with the association of a pure devotee who's physically present. That is seen, such an equation is simply not possible, and it will not have the same result.
So when we get a chance to chant along with our Gurujanas, then that is a very good thing. But also
Wonderful.
we have to understand the tattva from them, and then with the right conception of the holy name, when we chant, then it's like that.
Obviously, if in the association of a pure Shuddha Vaishnava, an Uttam Adhikari, if all your Naam Aparadhas get removed because all your conceptions are clarified, then will you have any Naam Aparadhas remaining?
No.
If no Naam Aparadha is there, then the Naam that you are chanting is on which stage?
I mean, Rosie, you had mentioned in your class, I mean, it will lead us to the Shuddha Naam platform. We are in somewhere in between, but yeah, it will lead us to Shuddha Naam platform.
Wonderful. Are you on the correct path?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Wonderful. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, Sadam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Deepayan Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. My question is that last shloka, sevon mukhe hi jihvatau. So, Nama seva be here. So, could you explain? Is it just what you told today's class, or more is also there?
Jihvadau is Saptami Vibhakti Ekvachan, locative case singular. Sevon mukhe is locative case singular. Sevon mukhe is adjective of Jihvadau. When Jihva etc., tongue etc. are Sevon mukha, are inclined to service. That is when Naam Swayameva, Naam itself, Spurati. It itself sprouts, itself manifests itself. That is the meaning. So, Sevon mukhe is an adjective of Jihvadau. When Jihva Adav.
I was asking.
What?
I was asking about Nama Seva. What all does it include?
Naam
is it
Seva?
just the chanting and kirtan? Or?
Obviously, the Naam Seva is, how do you serve Naam with your Jiva? How do you serve Harinam with your Jiva? You chant Harinam with aadar, anudinam. That is how you serve Harinam with your Jiva. Rupa Goswami has mentioned everything in that container. That is the best thing you can do for Sri Harinam, is that you give it aadar, allow it to sit on the Jiva, and you give it respect, invite it daily. That is what is the recommendation of the Goswamis. Exactly what is given by the Goswamis. I will not add one more thing. That is what it is. One other thing you can do. You can do some stotra or stava of Harinam. Like you can glorify Shri Harinam using any of the poetries of the previous acharyas. There's Namashtakam or other, Rupa Goswami's Namashtakam is there. Occasionally you can do that. But other than that, this is what you do. You give aadar to the Naam and you chant Naam daily. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Vishwadeep Prabhuji, please unmute. Vishwadeep Roy Prabhu. Okay, we'll go to Sachindra Krishna Prabhu and then we'll come back to Vishwadeep.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'm sorry for taking so much time. I mean, I feel you're the epitome of patience and tolerance in answering all of our questions, and I feel so bad for taking so much time, but you're a powerhouse of wealth of information that we so desperately crave. So thank you so much for giving us the time. My actual request was something else, but something else got spurned when you said that when we, chanting in the association of a pure devotee is so much needed. But how do you chant in the association of a pure devotee when ideally the pure devotee is actually supposed to just do upamshu japa, just sitting next to that pure devotee while they're doing their upamshu japa and you're doing it? Is that what's meant by chanting? Because you also said it's also attaining shiksha from that pure devotee. So is it one or both?
The most important thing is to get educated about Shri Harinam from a pure devotee. There is an incident described in Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat when Shri Haridas Thakur was asked to speak about Harinam. That is what you call associating with a pure devotee and, coming in close contact with a pure devotee. Shri Haridas Thakur started describing the glories of Shri Harinam in Chaitanya Bhagavat. There were certain Brahmanas who got envious, and then there was a argument that ensued after that. But basically, to understand Naam Tattva from a person who is Bhajana Vigya, Naam Vigya, that is the most important thing. Once our anarthas are cleared out, when we sit with the pure devotee, we perform japa, we perform kirtan, their mood will start affecting us, and their feelings will also start permeating our heart. But until our misconceptions are not driven away, how will it be possible that their understandings of Harinam will permeate our heart? Therefore, first and foremost, it is important. Therefore, our acharyas, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, instead of writing Harinam Chintamani, he could have just simply said, just go in the association of a pure devotee and sit with them. But he wrote an entire literature, Harinam Chintamani, to clear out all the misconceptions. So whenever we, association of a pure devotee means you sit with them. See, the entire Jaiva Dharma, the Jaiva Dharma is in the form of a conversation, right? That is what actually association of a pure devotee is, that you get to hear them. And once you get to hear them, then your misconceptions are cleared out. Then you know what is the tattva. Once you know the tattva, then your japa, your kirtan, your smaran is devoid of all the aparadhas, and then the gateway for Krishna Prem gradually opens. It's as simple as that.
Thank you, Prabhu. And my real request before that question was, this is a personal request. You may not want to do it. What is your routine of chanting japa? So, we heard so much from you on all of these things. How do you practice it with all the wealth of information you have from all the previous janas?
Right. So, since this is a personal question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Sri Narottam Das Thakur says that one should not reveal one's bhajan paddhati to others. So I will not give all the details, but I will tell you one thing. That I like to chant in a place where nobody else is there. Because I am the sort of an individual my nature is to be highly personal. And I am not a person who likes to prove his japa to others. That is how I have been. So I always chant in a solitary place, and I try to ensure that I never reveal even the number of rounds that I have chanted. Sometimes some devotees, start asking, have you completed your rounds? So I casually say yes, and I try not to reveal any quantity that I have chanted. And also I have some special inclination also towards some of the second initiation mantras. So regarding that, I had gotten some instructions from my Guru Maharaj, because I had some specific queries regarding second initiation mantras. So I got those queries clarified directly from my Guru, and he was very kind to clarify those things. So I have, my japa is not only Hari Naam japa, it's also japa of the other mantras that have been given to me. So it is a good combined, experience. And I like to give a lot of attention also to the mantras that have been given to me during second initiation. So all those mantras are very respectable for me. But usually my routine is to try to wake up before sunrise, and to never chant Harinam without taking shower. To first take a shower, and then only in a fully cleansed state of body and mind, then only perform Harinam a few rounds. Then I do my DT worship, because a Grihastha is expected to do DT worship, and then continue my Harinam. In this, I do not place a restriction on myself that I have to finish my rounds by a certain amount of time, because sometimes DT worship takes longer time, sometimes it happens quickly. So you see, I am an informal sort of a person. I have not placed fixed boundaries upon myself, because I know that there is no person or institution in the world who will give me a certificate of going back to Godhead on, fulfilling certain conditions. So I know that the certificate will come only from Krishna and from Guru Janas. So better spend my time pleasing Krishna and the Guru Janas. That is what my approach.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That was already very detailed, and you shared a lot of, even though you didn't have to or shouldn't have. Or thank you so much. It was super beneficial, I'm sure, for me and for everyone. Okay, we have one more question from Vishwadeep Roy Prabhu. Then we have a couple of things on chat, which I will request if you want to take those on after this.
Sure.
Vishwadeep Prabhu, please unmute.
I think he forgot to lower his hand. That's all.
Okay. I'll lower his hand. If you, Vishwadeep Prabhu, if you're listening, you can bring it up. So Prabhuji, I have a question. I know you've answered this before, that my question is getting this association or of a pure devotee in person. And first of all, pure devotees are so rare. And just like you said about yourself, you're very kind of like a, you don't like a lot. Many devotees will not like a crowd or around them. And how do we get such an association? And then your answer is to pray to Krishna and he will send the right association. That is well understood. My question is, if there's anything more you can say about this, or what is the quantity of that association, even a moment, or like we see in Jaiva Dharma, it was like that sannyasi or that in person in the beginning, we see he went and started living with the Babaji Maharaj. That somehow in my mind is like association but it's just seems completely impossible, impractical. I would just call it like not in this lifetime, hopefully in the next one. But if you can throw some light that maybe it's like Srila Prabhupada's association with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj like 3 times or 4 times in his life, is that what we should aspire for? Like very few meetings of a few hours or few minutes each? And how to find such a devotee other than praying?
See, the thing is, Shastra says lava matra, that a moment of association, sarva siddhi hai. Provided you had only one doubt or one misgiving which needed to be clarified in that one moment, and that was your final doubt or misgiving, and that got clarified in one moment, so that lava matra may work for you. For others, lava matra may not work. So our prayer should be that we should get sufficient association so that anukula have vidhi sahi pade haibe siddhi. My vidhi, my process of bhakti will become most favorable and all the obstacles will be removed. And I will get a positive taste for, the service of Shri Shri Radha Krishna. Till that moment, I want more also, but let's say Bhagavan doesn't want to give more, then the minimum that I want is till this point, till my misgivings are removed and till a positive taste is developed. And I will not restrict that to one day or one moment, or let whatever amount of time it takes, that much I want. And it is better if I get that in this life, because I'm not waiting for a next life. I want as soon as possible. Secondly, anybody who has had their life revolutionized by the presence of a pure devotee, they know what is the effect that the presence of a pure devotee, the revolutionary effect that the presence of a pure devotee has on their lives. When we lose such a person from our lives, that is when it actually strikes us what we have lost. So in my personal life, I got the teachings of a Shiksha Guru who is very pure, but I could not have association with them. But I understood what I have lost. I could not get personal association of them. That sort of drives you to cry for similar association. So it's very important to cry, not simply pray. It's very important to cry to have that association, because once we lose it, then there's nothing, except for crying that we can do. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Jaiva Dharma or in Chaitanya Shikshamrita that the nature of the world is that the world does not appreciate pure devotees when they are physically present. The pure devotee is appreciated mainly after they leave this world. So the intelligent person is he who can find and who can learn to appreciate in the personal presence of the pure devotee. And that may be 1 or 2 times association or whatever, as much as needed for cutting my misgivings and for bestowing a positive taste in my life. That is the answer to your query.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. I'll listen to it again and again and meditate on it. Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, we have some more questions on the chat, Prabhuji, if you're so kind with your time.
Sure.
Please. So there's one question, I think you answered it, but I'll still put it up. It's probably has a slightly different angle to it. The question is that by Vamshi Dhari Gopal Prabhu, in the initial stages until we get some taste, isn't some external force good to bring some discipline? Else our mind will always trick us to not chant or always chant less, and that way eventually we may also fall down. Please share your thoughts on this, Prabhuji.
Sure. That is what Vaidhi Bhakti is when you go according to Shastra Shasan. The discipline should be inflicted by Shastra and a guru who knows Shastra. That is what these two inflict the discipline. Because discipline should be there, which means I will myself inflict the discipline. No. No, discipline is not self-inflicted. Discipline is inflicted by the power of Shastra and by the authority of the Guru. So discipline should not be self-inflicted, it should be given by the Guru. Otherwise, we will overdo it and lose our taste. There is a good risk of that. When somebody does Ashtanga Yoga, it is highly recommended to do it in the presence of a Guru. Otherwise, a few asanas in the beginning, if they do it incorrectly, they may end up, disabling themselves or harming themselves. So it is important to do any shasan, anushasan, in the presence of a qualified teacher who knows the Shastra. That is the answer to the query.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Then another question which has not been taken up so far by Suresh Prabhu. Prabhuji, on some day if we cannot complete our 16 rounds of chanting, can we compensate by chanting more on the next day? Is this allowed as per Shastras, or any other light you could share on this?
The first thing is Shastra never gave a number. First and foremost, Shastra never gave a number. I quoted a verse which says, Na nyunam na adhikam, don't chant too less, don't chant too much. That was the perfect place to give a number. But Shastra there also did not give a number. So when Shastra does not give a fixed number, why will Shastra say what to do when you are not able to complete your number? So those are questions which should be consulted with the Guru. That one should approach one's Guru and say that, Maharaj, I could not, or Prabhu, I could not complete my certain number of rounds on this particular day. What should I do? Based on that, the Guru may give various instructions, because the circumstances may be different. Why could you not complete your rounds? Were you sick? Not in good health? This could be one condition. Or did you not complete because of laziness? Or what is the issue? So based on the circumstance, the Guru will give personalized guidance. But these sort of things need to be consulted with the Guru, and what one should do. With the Shiksha or Diksha Guru, one should consult and one should get those things clarified. Because if I say one formula, no, you should complete on next day, or some devotees, you should do double the rounds on next day. These things have sprung from somebody's fertile imagination. All right, this is not what Shastra says. Shastra is saying you should approach the Guru and you should Krishna Dikshadi Shikshana. That is what Shastra says. Get your Shiksha and Diksha from the Guru in these matters. That is what should be done.
Great. Thank you, Prabhuji. This one also, you answered it, but probably there's a slightly different angle to it. This is about what is the effect of hearing Srila Prabhupada's japa tape in a conscious or unconscious way, as it is played in many places like home or shop, etc.
See, the thing is, I would not like to make it about specific personalities. That's one of the things of the Q&A. Because it's not about, why just restrict ourselves to Srila Prabhupada? Why not just, there were godbrothers of Srila Prabhupada like Akinchan Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, whom Srila Prabhupada said was a pure devotee of Bhagavan. So sometimes we restrict ourselves to one personality, then the principle is lost. So let's ask a question based on principle. So the principle is, what is the effect of listening to a recorded tape of an Uttam Adhikari Mahabhagavat Vaishnava?
Sure.
Right? So that in principle, so because now I'm not speaking about a specific personality, I'm speaking about principle. A tape does not have volition. A tape does not have a living entity sitting inside it. Please try to understand one thing. A tape recorder stops when you press the stop button. The pure devotee wouldn't have stopped when you would have pressed the stop button on him. That's the difference. A tape doesn't have volition. A tape is uttering the syllables of the Naam. But a tape does not carry the bhav of the devotee within its heart. Please try to understand this thing. It's very important to understand that when a person chants Naam through volition, voluntarily chants Naam, that volition comes from the jiva. That jiva is missing in the tape recorder. Because the tape recorder starts when you press the start button, the tape recorder stops when you press the stop button. How can it be called volition when it is somebody else who is controlling the tape recorder? There is a big difference. Therefore, I don't want to make it about specific personalities. It's about any tape recorder, basically. This is also the reason why in most of our temples, of all the institutions, on most of the days, there is a live person speaking instead of a tape recorder. Because even the temples understand that question and answers, solving queries is a live thing. It is live business to solve questions. It cannot be done by a tape recorder. So most of these things, they require the physical presence of a pure devotee. And that is very much essential. This is very much essential. Otherwise, what will happen? We will end up making a sampradaya which is dependent simply on tapes. It is dependent simply on tapes. Nobody has to do anything. Let me ask a very simple question. Why should I chant my rounds? I'll simply flip the beads and I will listen to a tape. What is wrong? Please, you take the other side, Param Karuna Prabhu. I listen to the tape and I flip my beads. I won't utter a single word. What is wrong?
That is not japa anymore.
But I'm hearing the best possible voice.
That is Shravana. That's
all right. That's why I put the tape, right? I put the tape along with my japa so that it could assist my japa. Now, hey, whose voice am I supposed to hear?
Of a Shuddha Bhagavat.
So I'm hearing the tape and I'm flipping my beads. I'm not putting any effort through my mouth.
But it needs to be live. If you are not doing it properly, he has no capacity to correct you.
Oh, wow. So welcome to my school. Right? So this is what I was trying to say. That this is, we are supposed to hear our own voice when we perform japa. We are not supposed to hear somebody else's voice. Otherwise, if we are supposed to hear somebody else's voice, then my job becomes very easy. I just have to flip the beads and the tape will do the chanting. But the tape neither has volition, the tape doesn't have a jiva inside it, and the tape stops when I ask it to stop. The tape is dependent on my control. So it cannot be called volition. I need a pure devotee who has volition. That is what I want. So that sort of pure devotee is available in person physical association. It's very clear logically as well as through practical experience that doubt solving association of pure devotee is a living process. So that is the answer.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu asked a question. What is the meaning of Shishta Parampara?
Shishta is a term which is defined in, I heard the term for the first time when I was studying grammar. Patanjali defines the term Shishta. Shishta basically means a person who has fully accepted a particular shasan, a particular discipline, who has become perfected in that discipline is called Shishta. It comes from the same verbal root shasu. So Shishya, Shasan, and then Shishta, somebody who has fully and perfectly internalized the discipline that he was taught. That person becomes a Shishta, authority in that particular field. So Shishta, our Shishtas, our Acharyas are Shishtas, those who have fully internalized the discipline. Therefore, we call it Shishta Parampara, the lineage of individuals who have fully internalized the message of Bhakti Yoga. That is the meaning.
Thank you. There's another question that came up just a few minutes back. It has 3 questions. I'm making the decision to just take one of them because the first question, I mean, it's posted to everyone, is about how to find a quiet place. I think you answered it already. And the third question is about having a personal deity and worshipping. I think you will take it up in the next. I feel, I kind of sense that deity worship is not really directly related to verse number 7, and you might be taking it up later. So the second question is a little bit is relevant. We should have love for the name. Then why should not we chant only such name of the Lord that we have ruchi for? Today you were mentioning about your Namashtakam discussion, Sneha Yuktanam, etc.
We should have love for the names. Wonderful. Why should then we not chant names for which we have love? We should definitely chant. What is the harm in chanting names for which you have love? But if you have promised a certain thing to, you have taken a mantra from a sampradaya, and then the mantra consists of Naam, and then that Naam you don't have a taste for, then welcome to verse number 7 of Upadeshamritam. Pitto patapta rasanasya narochikano. Then, and then follow the discipline and get the distaste out of your system, and then progress. Because we may have our specific names in which we have taste, abhiruchit naam, and but we also need to have taste for Guru Pradatta Naam, which is names which have been given to us during our Diksha from our Guru Janas. So those are Mukhya Naams. Those Naams, they occupy central place in our spiritual life. And in general, Sri Rupa Goswami's instruction is for those type of Naams, those which were received from the Guru. And that is what it is. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That brings us to the end for today's session. Thank you. You spent like more time in the Q&A than the class, and it's been 3 hours. I didn't realize. So Dhāmeśvara Prabhu is messaged me saying Rangadevi is sleeping on his lap. So if she's not there, Prabhuji, would you like to close the meeting? Or if you don't say anything, then I'll do that. All right. Looks like he's
No worries.
So let's all unmute. I think yes, permission. Please unmute and give a big thank you to his.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Haribol, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much for wonderful class today.
Hari
The best gift that
Remember all this and follow. Thank you.
As always, we love you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
the best gift which Srila Gurudev and Gaudiya Guru can give to us.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. This is such an awesome opportunity to associate with you and get so many doubts clarified. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Please pray and bless. We will remember and follow these things.
Yeah,
Thank you,
likewise,
Prabhuji.
I also get those blessings. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So I think Dhāmeśvara Mahāprabhu Prabhu will close the call later, so we can.
I think you can.
It's only showing me the leave button, not the end
Right.
call.
All right. So I'll leave also. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Hare Krishna.
Wish you all a very
Hare Krishna.
Radhāष्tami festival.
Thank you.
Oh, there he is.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Haribol.
Haribol.
Haribol. Haribol.
Dandavat.
All right. Dāmeśvara Prabhu, kindly close the meeting for everyone. Thank you, Prabhu.
Oh, okay, I'll try. I'll have to do it with her foot.
No, Prabhu.
I don't have like any open hands.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll leave. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.